Chapter 13-14. In the Sword Sect. In the main hall, Murong Guenar and Yi Xian looked at each other. They could see the helplessness in each other's eyes. Tong Zun was an invincible figure. At the very least, the Sword Sect alone could not provoke such a super figure. The Sword Sect could ignore the Martial Artists Alliance alone. However, once Tong Zun made a move, no one in the Sword Sect could be his opponent. Master, I'm afraid that choosing to give up on Longao this time is our biggest loss. He nodded. How could Murong Guenar not know Yi Xian's intention? So what if he knew? With a helpless sigh, Murong Guenar said, "We can't afford to provoke Tong Zun. Although I know that we will regret giving up on Longao, I have to consider the interests of the Sword Sect." Interests of the Sword Sect. As the Sword Sect master, no matter what happened, no matter when, Murong Guenar had to first consider the interests of the Sword Sect. This time, Longao will go to the Long family. Whether he can come back alive is still unknown. Long Hang nodded in agreement. Tong Zun's appearance had already indicated that the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family had joined forces. Although it sounded a little impossible, the truth was in front of them. They had to believe it. Leaving the main hall, Longao did not continue to stay in the Sword Sect. He quickly left without even saying goodbye to Murong Yanga. In Longao's opinion, since things had already come to this point, he had better not provoke anyone. Otherwise, it would not be good for anyone if he was implicated. At the top of a desolate mountain, Longao stood alone at the top of the mountain. He looked at the endless void in the distance, letting the cold wind blow past him. He was dressed in black, and his blood-red hair was dancing wildly. The Long family had set up a trap and wanted him to walk right into it. If he went to the Long family, wouldn't he die without a doubt? It didn't matter if he died, but if he implicated his family and no one could save him, then even if he died, he wouldn't be able to rest in peace. That was indeed the case. He had to think of a countermeasure to deal with this. Slaughter Abyss. Thinking back and forth, Longao could not think of a good idea. Finally, he locked onto the Massacre Abyss. Although he did not know why the Massacre Abyss would seek refuge with him for no reason, in this situation, he could only choose to use the Massacre Abyss to deal with his Long family. However, even with the power of the Massacre Abyss, Longao was not prepared to go to the Long family. With Tong Zun's appearance, there was no doubt that the Martial Artists Alliance had joined forces with the Long family. If the Nirvana Realm martial artists of the two clans were added together, then there would be at least 20 of them. But in the Massacre Abyss, there were at most only 5 Nirvana Realm martial artists. Under the situation of 1 against 4, he would still lose without a doubt. As for the mysterious powerhouse of the Massacre Abyss, Longao still did not know who it was. At this time, he could no longer care about anything else. Inside the Massacre Abyss, there were a total of 5 Abyss Masters in the Massacre Abyss. They were the East Master of the Abyss, Hong Lingtong, the South Master of the Abyss, Yang Ling, the West Master of the Abyss, Luo Qingfeng, the North Master of the Abyss, Guo Li, and the Middle Master of the Abyss, Yi Chen. The 5 Abyss Masters were a little surprised by Longao's sudden appearance. However, thinking of the mysterious Master's instructions, the 5 of them shrugged helplessly. So, before Long Batian left, he was worried that Longao would not be able to gain a foothold in the Tianwu continent alone. He could only let the 5 Abyss Masters of the Massacre Abyss help Longao. With the help of 5 Nirvana Realm martial artists, Longao's development speed would be faster. Regarding this, the 5 Abyss Masters did not know, and neither did Longao. The 5 of you, now I have something that I need your help with. I hope the 5 of you can help. Please tell us, Master. The 5 of them were not afraid of Longao, but of Long Batian. Otherwise, not to mention submitting to the Dragon Sect, the 5 of them would probably continue to fight head-on with Longao. In the end, it was really unknown who would win and who would lose. You have provoked 20 Supreme Martial Artists of the Divine Path and 100 Martial Artists of the Divine Path. Immediately get up and leave the Massacre Abyss with me. What was it? The 5 of them did not ask much, because the 5 of them knew what to ask, what not to ask, when to ask, and when not to ask. The 5 of them did not hesitate at all, and immediately chose people to leave the massacre abyss. On the way, Longao did not hide anything, and told them in detail about his feud with the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family. After listening, the 5 of them understood and nodded. However, the 5 of them were also a little depressed. If they wanted to deal with the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family at the same time with their strength alone, it would be like hitting a rock with an egg. They did not know what was good for them. The 5 of them were self-aware. Not to mention dealing with the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family at the same time, even if they were separated, it would be impossible for them to deal with any one of them casually. Of course, Longao knew what the 5 of them were thinking, but the safety of his family was more important. Even if he knew that it was impossible for him to deal with the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family at the same time, Longao knew that he had to do it. Longao kept warning himself that he could not be impulsive, or else it would only ruin his plan. Therefore, even if he asked the Masters of the Massacre Abyss for help, he still did not act recklessly. Instead, he chose a place to settle down for the time being. On the 8th day, Longao still did not go to the Long family, which made the Long family and the Martial Artists Alliance wonder if Longao had chosen to give up his family. Even if he had given up, it was reasonable. After all, with the strength of Longao, as long as he hid and cultivated slowly, he would have a bright future. However, if Longao did not come, what could they do even if they destroyed the Longao? Their main target was Longao, not Longao's family. Just when the Long family and the Martial Artists Alliance thought that Longao would not appear, Longao's message had already reached the Long family. The general meaning was very simple. It was that if the Long family and the Martial Artists Alliance dared to touch a hair on his family, Longao would not fight them head-on. Instead, he would launch sneak attacks and assassinations in the future. With Longao's strength, 5 Nirvana Realm Warriors, 20 Supreme Divine Realm Warriors, and hundreds of Supreme Divine Realm Warriors, even the Long family and the Martial Artists Alliance would not be able to withstand the sneak attacks and assassinations. Long family. Clan leader, Longao was just scaring us. If he had the help of 5 Nirvana Realm Warriors, would he still be like this? I believe that they would have come long ago. He nodded. Longao dared to cause trouble for the Martial Artists Alliance alone, let alone 5 Nirvana Realm Warriors. Not only Long Hang, but even Long Di Tien did not believe it. With Longao's crazy personality, he would not do something like this. It was just a bluff. Grand Elder. Rumble, rumble. Before Long Di Tien could finish, the entire ground began to tremble. Chapter 13:15. What's going on? The ground trembled as if there was an earthquake. Black cracks started to appear on the ground. Not only that, a terrifying aura came pressing down. The aura of heaven and earth. Long Di Tien and Long Hang looked at each other and saw a trace of shock in each other's eyes. Because it was obvious that a Nirvana Realm martial artist was attacking the Long family. Who would dare to be so bold? The Long family was one of the top powers in the Sky Martial continent. Not to mention ordinary people, even the other 9 superpowers did not dare to casually provoke the Long family. Taking a step back. So what if the other party was a Nirvana Realm martial artist? In front of the Long family, even a Nirvana Realm martial artist would have to be obedient. Long Di Tien, listen up. Longao. Hearing the voice, Long Di Tien finally knew who it was. It was none other than the Long family's biggest worry, Longao. Longao was not joking, there really was a Nirvana Realm martial artist helping him. This was going to be troublesome. Long Di Tien was very clear what it meant for a few Nirvana Realm martial artists to help Longao. If it was an open and above-board fight, he would not be afraid at all. What he was afraid of was that Longao would bring a few Nirvana Realm martial artists and play tricks on the Long family. If that was the case, how would the Long family deal with it? Without the slightest hesitation. It was impossible for Long Di Tien to let Longao continue to cause trouble like this. He and Long Hang's body had already rushed out, and along with them, the 10 elders of the Long family had also appeared in the sky. Longao did not leave. Not only Longao, there were also 5 people behind him. They were the 5 Abyss Masters of the Massacre Abyss, the so-called 5 Nirvana Realm martial artists. Sensing the heaven and earth aura released by the 5 of them, whether it was Long Di Tien, Long Hang, or the 10 elders, they could not figure out how Longao did it. Longao, you dare attack my Long family? Why wouldn't I dare? Hearing Long Di Tien's words, Longao felt a little disdainful. His face was filled with ridicule and contempt. Was such a person worthy of being the head of a Long family? The main reason he came here this time was to attack the Long family. Otherwise, would he have nothing better to do? Long Di Tien, let go of my family and I will let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Before Longao could finish speaking, the 10 elders behind Long Di Tien started laughing maniacally. Their laughter was filled with disdain, as though they had just heard the funniest joke in the world. Longao, aren't you being a little too arrogant? He waved his hand. After stopping Longao from continuing, Long Di Tien sneered and said, Longao, do you think you can leave the Long family alive after coming here? Just as Long Di Tien finished speaking, 9 heaven and earth auras appeared behind him. 9 Nirvana martial artists. There was no need to guess at all. Longao already knew who the person behind him was. Other than Tong Zun and the other 9 people from the Martial Artists Alliance, he couldn't think of any other place that could have 9 Nirvana martial artists at once. Pincer attack. Longao, long time no see. Turning around, Longao looked at Tong Zun and smiled. Tong Zun, since you want to deal with me, why didn't you attack me back at Longao Peak? Isn't it unnecessary? Longao was curious, but he couldn't figure it out either. Back at Longao Peak, he was already trapped. As long as Tong Zun was willing, he didn't even know if he would live or die. But in the end, Tong Zun suddenly stopped attacking him and gave up that opportunity for no reason. Longao thought that Tong Zun and the Martial Artists Alliance wouldn't attack him for the time being, but he was wrong. Because of this, Longao couldn't figure it out. Why didn't Tong Zun attack him back then? Longao, you won't know the reason even if you die. Of course, Tong Zun wouldn't tell the truth. Was he going to tell Longao and the world that the reason why he let Longao go last time was because he was afraid of Fen Tian? If this was spread out, where would his dignity go? Wouldn't he be telling everyone that he was afraid of Fen Tian? Tong Zun wouldn't let this happen. The 5 people behind Longao were extremely depressed. They didn't expect that the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family would have 20 Nirvana martial artists working together. 5 against 20. Didn't that mean that they would have to fight against 4 people, including Tong Zun, who was invincible among the Nirvana martial artists? After thinking about it, the 5 of them felt that they were going to die this time. They looked at Longao, but since things had already come to this point, the 5 of them didn't curse or attack. They could only take one step at a time and hope that they could leave this place smoothly. But could they really do it? Long Di Tien, if you dare to touch my family, I, Longao, can swear a blood oath that I will slaughter the Long family at any time. If you don't believe me, you can try. Hearing this, Long Di Tien's face turned ugly. It was better to be safe than sorry. If Longao really left this time, then things would be really troublesome. With the strength of Longao and the 5 of them, if they chose to assassinate, then no one in the Long family would be able to resist them. Even if it was the Martial Artists Alliance, other than Tong Zun, everyone else might be killed. Not only Long Di Tien, but everyone else, including Tong Zun, knew that Longao couldn't leave. Otherwise, it would be like letting a tiger go back to the mountain. Longao, can you leave? No one believed that Longao could leave this place alive. Not to mention the people from the Long family and the Martial Artists Alliance, even the 5 Lords of the Abyss didn't believe that Longao could leave this place alive. After all, there were 20 Nirvana Realm Warriors. If Longao could leave this place successfully, then he wasn't a human. Longao, Shangguan Iya, and the others had already used their divine artifacts to interfere with the spatial fluctuations around them. Because everyone knew that Longao had a spatial divine artifact, the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family were already prepared to prevent Longao from leaving this place with the help of the spatial divine artifact. From the beginning to the end. Whether it was the Martial Artists Alliance or the Long family, they didn't think about why Longao would suddenly come here. They knew that this was a trap. I can stay. The 5 of them have no grudges with you. Can they leave? No, they can't. Everyone knew what 5 Nirvana Realm warriors meant. If they let them go, they might try to assassinate them. At that time, how would the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family deal with them? Just in case, the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family wouldn't let them leave. Chapter 13:16. You guys leave first. Leave first. Hearing Longao's words, the 5 of them were dumbfounded. How were the 5 of them going to leave? There were wolves in front and tigers behind. The Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family had teamed up. There were a total of 20 Nirvana Realm martial artists with Tong Zun among them. With such a powerful lineup, even if the 5 of them had 3 heads and 6 arms, they wouldn't be able to leave safely. The 5 of them even suspected that Longao was toying with them. Longao could guess what the 5 of them were thinking. He chuckled. This chuckle made the 5 of them even angrier. The 5 of us came here with you to die, but you're still toying with us at such a crucial moment. How shameless. As for Long Di Tian, Tong Zun, and the rest, they didn't attack immediately. They were confident that with such a lineup, even if they gave Longao a chance, Longao wouldn't be able to leave successfully. Let's go. Before the 5 of them could react, in the next moment, under everyone's shocked gazes, the 5 of them suddenly disappeared without a trace. What the hell happened? The spatial ripples had been disrupted. Both parties were confident that Longao couldn't leave with the help of a spatial divine item. If that was the case, how did Longao do it? Array. Tong Zun's voice was cold. No one had expected Longao to be so skilled in array formations. Under the watchful eyes of so many experts, he sent the 5 of them away with the help of an array formation. Letting the tiger go back to the mountain would only cause trouble in the future. Longao is an array master. Regarding the matter of Longao being an array master, no one had thought of it, because from the beginning to the end, Longao had never used an array. What made everyone curious was that since Longao had sent the 5 of them away, why didn't he leave? Could it be that Longao wanted to fight against 20 of them alone? Tong Zun, Long Di Tian, I've already said that you can't keep me here. Why don't we try? If it was before, no one would have believed Longao's arrogance. They would have scoffed at him. But now, with the previous example, no one spoke because no one knew if Longao could really leave this place. What if Longao could really leave this place? The calmer Longao appeared, the more uncertain everyone felt. Seeing that no one was speaking, Longao smiled. Long Di Tian, remember this. If you dare to hurt my family, I'll kill 100 of them. I'd like to see who's more ruthless, or the Martial Artists Alliance. Without giving either side a chance to speak, Longao smiled and said, "Forgive me for not keeping you company. Goodbye. You want to leave?" Before Tong Zun could make a move, Longao had already disappeared. Did he just disappear like that? Everyone was slightly dumbstruck because from the beginning until the end, not a single one of them had imagined such an outcome. Longao would actually vanish just like this, vanish right under the noses of 20 Rebirth Realm martial artists like them. Is this true? Until now, no one was willing to believe that this was the truth. If news of this were to spread, no one would believe it. A total of 20 Rebirth Realm martial artists, almost all the top experts of the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family, had joined forces. Even so, they still couldn't keep Longao here. Tragedy. This was a tragedy. The tragedy of the Martial Artists Alliance was also the tragedy of the Long family. Senior, how did Longao do it? Until now, Long Di Tian still couldn't believe that Longao could leave just by relying on the array. When he sent the 5 people away, he had indeed sensed the existence of the array. But now, when Longao left, there wasn't even a trace of spatial fluctuation. What was going on? How could Tong Zun know? If Tong Zun knew, Longao wouldn't have left so casually. Without saying a word, Tong Zun's eyes were cold as he looked at the endless void in the distance. This time, Longao's demonstration was successful. Longao wasn't a fool. He knew that no matter what he did, his family would be killed in the end. As for himself, he was still an unknown. After thinking for a long time, in the end, Longao came up with a good idea, which was to make a show of strength to scare the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family with the strength of himself and the 5 Abyss Masters. In this way, the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family wouldn't dare to do anything to his family. 1 for 100. As long as the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family weren't stupid, they wouldn't do that. Moreover, before the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family dealt with him, they wouldn't act rashly. Otherwise, if Longao's family died, he would go crazy. By then, it would be a lie to say that the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family wouldn't suffer any losses. Just as Longao had guessed, if he didn't make a show of strength, he really didn't know what the result would be. But this time, the show of strength was obviously effective. Although Tongzun and Longao didn't say it, they were both very afraid of Longao. If Longao really went crazy, no one could guarantee that they wouldn't be able to resist his sneak attack. After a few days of cleaning, Dragon Peak was restored to its previous appearance. This time, the 5 of them were able to leave successfully because of Longao's formation skills. It was all thanks to the help of the Wanzhan School's master. That was why Longao couldn't figure out why the Wanzhan School's master would help him. It seemed that they weren't friends at all. As for Longao's successful departure, Longao didn't go to the Long family with his real body, but with his reincarnated doppelganger. From the beginning to the end, no one, not even the 5 of them, knew that Longao wasn't the real Longao. He was just a doppelganger of Longao. If Longao's actions were known by the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family, who knew what they would do? After this incident, the 5 of them were completely convinced. The 5 of them vaguely remembered that the black-clothed man had found them and asked them to follow Longao. He had even said that if the 5 of them followed Longao, it wouldn't be impossible for them to reach the peak of martial arts in the future. From the beginning to the end, the 5 of them didn't believe the black-clothed man's words. But at this time, the 5 of them didn't know why, but they had a feeling that they might be able to reach the peak of martial arts if they followed Longao. The 5 of them were actually very realistic. If it wasn't for the black-clothed man's threat, they wouldn't have followed Longao and risked their lives to go to the Long family with Longao. Master, what should we do next? In the end, Longao still couldn't resist the Long family and the Martial Artists Alliance. Otherwise, Longao wouldn't have to run away. Even with the 5 of them, the Long family and the Martial Artists Alliance's strength couldn't be underestimated. And this was Longao. Ordinary people wouldn't dare to offend the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family casually. Chapter 13-17. The deterrence was a success. And he successfully left the Long family. Longao didn't relax at all because he knew that the real battle was about to begin. The Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family wouldn't let it go even if they were deterred. In the current situation, it was either you die or I die. The grudge between Longao, the Long family, and the Martial Artists Alliance was known to the whole world. Longao was the biggest dark horse and rose quickly. However, many people didn't think highly of Longao. The reason was simple. The Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family were 2 of the top 10 forces. Not to mention joining forces, just one of them was an invincible super-existence. Longao wouldn't be able to defeat one of them in a one-on-one situation, let alone 2 of them. This battle, Longao was bound to lose without a doubt. Almost everyone didn't think highly of Longao. Wanzhan School. Fen Tian was extremely gloomy when he found out that the Martial Artists Alliance was involved in this matter. Tongzun promised him that he wouldn't go against Longao, but what happened? Despicable, shameless. Fen Tian was helpless. So what if Tongzun went back on his word? He couldn't start a war with Tongzun. After all, the Wanzhan School and the Martial Artists Alliance were evenly matched. If they really started a war, it would be hard to tell who would win. Fen Tian wouldn't do that unless he had no other choice. Fen Tian knew that there was only one thing he could do now, and that was to help Longao. The news of Longao's battle with the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family had spread throughout the Tianwu continent. Even though they knew that Longao was no match for the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family, everyone admired Longao's courage. Longao was able to escape unscathed in a 1 versus 2 situation. This in itself showed how strong Longao was. There were 9 Nirvana Realm warriors in the Martial Artists Alliance and 11 in the Long family. Altogether, there were 20 Nirvana Realm warriors. What kind of concept was that? 20 Nirvana Realm martial artists joining forces was sufficient to destroy the heavens and earth. It was precisely because of this that Longao's fame grew bigger and bigger. Moreover, his ranking on the heaven leaderboard had directly risen by another level. Longao was only a deity, but in everyone's eyes, Longao was no longer a deity, but a true Nirvana Realm martial artist. Tianwu Continent. The Heaven List and Earth List were the 2 lists with the highest value. They were also the lists that every martial artist dreamed of entering. Longao was ranked on both the Earth List and Heaven List, and he was number 1 on the Earth List. The Long family had previously threatened that if Longao did not arrive at the Long family within 10 days, they would kill 1 person every other day. Even if Longao had many family members, they would not be able to withstand such a massacre. But what was the result? Not only did Longao successfully leave the Long family, he even threatened the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family. Did anyone believe it? Threatening the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family was simply asking for a rebuff. No one believed that the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family would be threatened by Longao. After all, if Longao had enough strength, he would not have left. He would have directly started a war. But in the end, whether it was the Martial Artists Alliance or the Long family, although they did not say it, their actions showed that they were really afraid of Longao. They did not dare to touch Longao's family casually. What on earth was going on? Could it be that the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family were really afraid of Longao? It was a little hard to believe. No matter what, the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family's strength was there. Under normal circumstances, the 2 superpowers would not take Longao seriously at all. All of this seemed to be a mystery in the eyes of others. They did not know what had happened between Longao and the 2 superpowers. Tianwu Continent was in a mess. And the person who had caused all of this was Longao, who had just risen. If they had not seen it with their own eyes and heard it with their own ears, no one would be willing to believe that a person from the small Jojo continent could turn Tianwu Continent into such a mess. At this moment, everyone was looking forward to seeing what would happen between Longao and the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family in the future. Humans were so complicated. Although they knew that Longao was no match for the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family, many people still wanted to see how Longao would destroy the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family. Everything was calm. After the battle between the Long family, whether it was the Martial Artists Alliance, the Long family, or Longao, all of them seemed to have stopped fighting. Everyone was not satisfied. But many people knew that although the 2 sides did not fight, it was inevitable. It was just a matter of time. It was the calm before the storm. Long family. In the main hall. Longao's smooth escape this time had worried Long Di-Tien and Long Hang to death. Both of them knew that as long as Longao was alive, he would always be a huge threat. Who knew when Longao would come back? However, they did not dare to kill Longao's family. Longao's threat had succeeded. If they killed one, Longao would kill 100. At that time, even if the Long family had countless people, it would not be enough for Longao to kill. Shame. This was the shame of the Long family. Even with the Martial Artists Alliance's help, Longao still managed to escape. There was no need to ask around. Long Di-Tien was sure that the entire Tianwu continent was talking about this. Long family had lost all face. Patriarch, what should we do now? Are we really not going to deal with Longao's family? Waving his hand, Long Di-Tien said helplessly, "Follow me." Long Hang was very curious. He did not know where the Patriarch was going to take him. Without asking, the 2 of them left the main hall and walked towards the back mountain of the Long family. With their speed, they quickly arrived at their destination. In a huge courtyard. In the courtyard, there were at least tens of thousands of people coming and going. However, in the center, there were 3 people sitting. They were Longao's grandfather, Longao, Mu Wanfeng, and Wang Yidao. The 3 of them had the highest seniority in the Long family. After being captured by the Long family, everyone had already guessed what the Long family's purpose was. They wanted to capture them and use them to deal with their grandson. Longao, how is this place? Seeing Long Dietian and Long Hang suddenly appear, everyone retreated to the side. They were all incomparably angry. After the matter with Longao, the disciples of the Long family did not seem to be afraid of Long Dietian. In the past, in these people's eyes, Long Dietian was a high and mighty person. After all, Long Dietian was the patriarch of the Long family. The dragon race had 9 ranks, and the hierarchy was very strict. Patriarch, if you have something to say, just say it. There's no need to be like this, said Longao calmly. Chapter 13:18. He admired Longao in his heart. Long Ditian smiled and said, Longao, you and I are sensible people, so I'll get straight to the point. Longao waved his hand. After a short while, the crowd that had been coming and going earlier had disappeared without a trace. Mu Wanfeng and Wang Yidao did not leave. Longao, as long as you make Longao compromise, I can guarantee that I won't kill him. What do you think? What are your conditions? There was no free lunch in the world. Longao knew very well that Long Ditian would not be so kind. As long as his grandson compromised, things would not have turned out this way. It's very simple. As long as Longao hands over the spatial artifact, breaks his arms, and destroys his cultivation. Long Ditian said it so casually, but Longao and the other two's expressions changed. What a shameless Long Ditian. Longao and the other 2 were cursing Long Ditian in their hearts. Patriarch, forgive me for being powerless. What a joke. If he did that, how could he face his grandson? He believed that others would not agree, let alone himself. If he really did that, he alone would not be able to forgive himself. He was not surprised at all, nor was he angry at all. If Longao had agreed so quickly, he would have been surprised. Longao, you should know your current situation. I don't. Long Hang snorted, his face full of murderous intent. He waved his hand. Long Ditian stopped Long Hang and said with a smile, Longao, if you die, and the others die, what do you think will happen to Longao? Longao and the others did not know that Longao had barged into the Long family and fought with the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family. The Long family had blocked the news. If Longao and the others knew that Longao had almost died in the Long family for them, what would they think? Patriarch, don't waste your breath. If you want to kill, just kill. As for compromise, Longao stood up and returned to his house with Mu Wanfeng and Wang Yidao. Patriarch, Longao is fearless. Has he already received some news? Long Dietian's expression was extremely gloomy, it was as ugly as it could get. Long family patriarch, when had he ever suffered such humiliation? Being ignored by the patriarch of a low-level family, if it was in the past, he would have already made a move. Endure. Long Dietian knew that he had to endure it. No matter what, Longao was Longao's grandfather. If he didn't kill Longao and dealt with Longao in advance, who knew what kind of madness Longao would go? Without the example of the Martial Artists Alliance, Long Dietian would not be so careful. However, the situation now was completely different. The Martial Artists Alliance was a living example. Long Dietian did not want to take the risk. If his Long family suffered any losses, he would not be able to answer to his family. Long family could not afford to lose even 1 Nirvana Realm martial artist, let alone 2 Nirvana Realm martial artists. Don't kill them for now. Patriarch. Long Hang was unwilling to accept being ignored by Longao. Not to mention how they would lose face if word got out. How could he swallow this anger? How could Long Dietian not know what the Great Elder was thinking? After thinking for a while, he said, to be safe, it's best that we deal with Longao. As for Longao and the rest, Long Dietian did not finish his sentence, but the meaning behind his words was very clear. In his eyes, Longao and the rest were no different from ordinary people. As Longao was not a threat, he could kill Longhausha at any time. It was as simple as killing an ant. Longhausha's unwillingness to compromise left Long Di-Tien and the rest with no other choice. Longao's threat was too great, especially after what happened to the Martial Artists Alliance. As a result, the Long family did not dare to act rashly. They were afraid that Longao would go crazy and cause both sides to suffer losses. At that time, wouldn't the Long family go for wool and come home shorn? Long Fu, is there any way to locate my family? Longao did not act rashly. Before he could confirm the exact location, if he was discovered by the Long family, the consequences would be unimaginable. Master, I have already tried before. There is no problem with the exact location. As for how you are going to move them, that is a big problem. Long Hang nodded. With regards to Long Fu's meaning, Longao was very clear about Longao's intentions. The family and the dragon sect had more than 10,000 people. It was almost impossible to move 10,000 people at the same time. Furthermore, Longao was very clear that the Long family would definitely guard them strictly. If he was unable to move them as quickly as possible, the second move would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. He had to think of a foolproof plan. What should he do? Master, if you want to save everyone, there is only one way. Hearing that Long Fu had a way to save his family, Longao was immediately overjoyed. He could not wait to ask. These days, Longao had not been able to eat or sleep well. He could not even calm down to cultivate. It was all because he was worried about his family. Longao would rather die than see anything happen to his family. Master, the Long family mainly wants to deal with you this time. If there is no accident, I believe that the Long family will have set up many traps. This time, even if we can locate them, Master, once you enter, I am afraid that you will be in great danger. Longao nodded again. The Long family went through so much trouble just to get rid of him. The Long family probably wanted him to walk right into their trap. It seemed that he really had to be careful not to fall into a deep pit and harm himself. Long Fu, then what should I do now? Master, actually, my method is very simple. That is to use the reincarnation avatar to lure all the experts of the Long family away. At that time, Master will personally go to the Long family to save them. However, doing so will be very dangerous. Dangerous? Was he afraid of danger? For his family, no matter what danger it was, Longao was not afraid. With regards to Long Fu's method, Longao almost understood. In the end, he still needed the help of the reincarnation avatar. After thinking for a while, Long Fu, this is not a problem. The only thing I am worried about now is that even if I can successfully enter the Long family and find the target, what should I do to move everyone at the same time? Longao was very clear about Long Fu's character. If it was not for the fact that he had no other choice, Long Fu would definitely not say this. It seemed that Long Fu had already thought of a solution. As expected. Master, although I have no way to let these people enter the dragon seal space, I have a way to move them at the same time. Chapter 13:19. This was all Long Fu could do. Longao knew that everything depended on himself. Danger. In front of his family's safety, he didn't know how to spell the word danger. Longao didn't immediately take action. Instead, he calmed down and prepared to cultivate for a few days. Ever since his cultivation base had broken through to the deity realm, Longao had been constantly cultivating. He knew that as he ventured deeper into the Qianwu continent, strength would become more important to him. With strength, he could do whatever he wanted. Without strength, it would be difficult to take even a single step. This was the reality. This was the law of survival in a dog-eat-dog world. Longao couldn't change the world. He only had the ability to change himself. That was exactly the case. Longao constantly told himself that he had to become stronger. Although the deity realm and the earth god realm were only separated by one level, the difference in strength was too great. They weren't even on the same level. Longao had a feeling that his cultivation seemed to be on the verge of a breakthrough. He had to grasp this crucial moment. The stronger he was, the greater his chances of success. Dragon Peak. Within a hidden cave. Longao sat on the ground, circulating the 9-cycle reincarnation technique. The greatest difference between the deity realm and the earth god realm was the power of their divine domains. Deities had their own divine domains, while earth gods had their own divine domains. Therefore, in order to break through from the deity realm to the earth god realm, he had to first transform his deity divine domain into an earth god divine domain. This step sounded easy, but in reality, it was extremely difficult. Longao hadn't thought that he would break through again so quickly after breaking through from the spirit condensation realm to the deity realm. If he hadn't experienced it himself, he wouldn't have believed it. Longao was already very satisfied with this cultivation speed. Within Longao's body, his deity divine domain was slowly transforming into an earth god divine domain. Once the transformation was complete, Longao's breakthrough would be considered a true success. In truth, the reason Longao was able to advance so quickly wasn't because of Longao's cultivation talent, nor was it because of the desolate saint physique. It was the real reason. Longao had successfully broken through to the 3rd cycle of the 9-cycle reincarnation technique. With the help of the reincarnation power, he was able to break through from the deity realm to the earth god realm so quickly. Regarding this point, even Longao had never thought of it. Once he broke through to the deity realm, Longao would be just a step away from the deity realm. The divine Tao was so far away from the nirvana realm. But in Longao's heart, he had always believed that he would definitely be able to reach the nirvana realm. The ancestral hall of the Long clan, the draconic arcane realm of the Dragon clan. Both places could lead to the same place, which was the so-called dark space. In the entire Martial Heaven continent, there were very few people who knew about the black space. But there was an incomparably powerful expert sealed within the black space. The Black Demon was a super expert who was above the heavenly Tao. Black Devil's expression was extremely gloomy when he saw Master God Diviner appear in front of him. Master God Diviner, 10,000 years ago, you destroyed my physical body and sealed me here. I'll settle this debt with you sooner or later. Is that so? Master God Diviner's lips curled into a cold smile, as if he didn't think much of Black Devil. After all, if Master God Diviner could destroy Black Devil's body and seal it here, then he could easily destroy Black Devil himself. That was why Master God Diviner didn't care about Black Devil's threat at all. Hey Mo, I know your strength very well. Not to mention the current you, even if you were at your peak, you wouldn't be my opponent. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. I'm here for that matter. Why should I tell you? Master God Diviner didn't get angry in the slightest. His expression was still indifferent. However, anyone familiar with Master God Diviner would know that in this situation, he was the most terrifying existence. Black Devil, I don't have time to waste with you. Promise me, and I can let you leave here. I can even help you reform your physical body. If you don't, I'll directly devour your soul. You should know what that means. If he said he wasn't afraid, he would be lying. Of course, Black Demon knew what it would mean if his soul was devoured. If his soul was devoured, it meant that his soul would never be able to enter the cycle of reincarnation. In other words, it would vanish like smoke. No one wanted to end up like that. Furthermore, Black Devil's cultivation base had already reached this level. He didn't want to die. Black Devil was very clear that as long as his soul wasn't destroyed, he still had a chance to live. But once his soul was destroyed, he wouldn't even have a chance. Could it be that he had to promise Master God Diviner? If he had promised Master God Diviner, he would have done so 10,000 years ago. There was no need to wait until now. Seeing that Black Devil didn't speak, Master God Diviner said, Black Devil, you and I have no enmity. If you hadn't trespassed on my territory, I wouldn't have killed you. But since I know your secret, why don't you tell me and you can continue to live? Otherwise, once you die, what's the point of keeping your secret? Black Devil still didn't speak, but his face became gloomier. Black Devil had a feeling that even if he told the secret, Master God Diviner wouldn't let him go. Tell. Or don't tell. Hey Devil was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Although he didn't want to admit it, he knew that Master God Diviner was far more powerful than him. Even if he continued to grow stronger, he still wouldn't be a match for Master God Diviner, let alone when he was at his peak. Revenge was no longer an option. Master God Diviner, I can tell you this secret, but you have to promise me 3 things. Otherwise, even if I have to die, I won't tell you this secret. Black Devil had already made up his mind. This matter concerned his life and death. If he wasn't careful, he would be consigned to eternal damnation. So he had to be careful with each step. He couldn't fall into Master God Diviner's trap. Tell me. Master God Diviner wasn't a fool. He wouldn't agree directly. If Black Devil asked him to kill himself, would he kill himself? That was impossible. As the #1 expert of the Martial Heaven continent, the Master God Diviner was a wily old fox. He wouldn't make such a low-level mistake. My requests are very simple. First, you have to swear a blood oath to help me reform my physical body and return to my peak state. Furthermore, you can never kill me. Second, you have to help me break through my final bottleneck. As for the final condition, I want a share of the treasures you obtain. You can't keep them for yourself. Chapter 1320. Strictly speaking, none of Heimo's 3 conditions were too much. After all, the secret belonged to Heimo. Would Master Clairvoyant agree? In fact, Heimo wasn't confident because he didn't know whether Master Clairvoyant would agree or not. Before Master Clairvoyant could answer, Heimo said, Master Clairvoyant, you don't have to think about soul-searching. If you were confident, you wouldn't have sealed me here 10,000 years ago. Master Clairvoyant stared at Heimo. As Heimo said, he wasn't confident that he could successfully soul-searching. If he failed, he would lose the secret forever. Master Clairvoyant didn't want to gamble, nor did he dare to. He didn't care about Heimo's life at all. The only thing he cared about was the secret in Heimo's hands. Heimo, I can agree to your 3 conditions. He was overjoyed. All right, if that's the case, I'll tell you. An hour later, in the dark space, crazy laughter filled every inch of the space. Heimo's figure kept growing bigger and bigger. Ha ha ha, 10,000 years, 10,000 years, I've finally broken the seal. Well, follow me. Master Clairvoyant's words were like a bucket of cold water poured over Heimo's head. However, he had no choice. He was weaker than Master Clairvoyant, so he could only follow him. Master Clairvoyant and Heimo soon disappeared in the dark space. Dragon Peak, in a secluded cave, after a day and a night of cultivation, Longao's mortal god realm had all transformed into Earth God realm. That was to say, Longao had officially become an Earth God. It was still the same sentence. The mortal god realm and the Earth God realm were only 1 level apart, but the gap between the 2 was huge. Longao had a feeling that his current strength had increased by at least 1/6. Below the divine realm, including the divine realm, Longao had to have full confidence that he could become an invincible existence. He stood up. Now that he had made a breakthrough, there was only one thing to do, and that was to think of all kinds of ways to save his family. Long family, here I come. It was a dark night with a bright moon in the sky. A silhouette flashed by like a breeze in the dark night. Because it was too fast, it was impossible to see the silhouette clearly. Even the afterimage could not be seen. The person who came was none other than Longao. After thinking about it, Longao decided to give it a try. After all, if he couldn't save his family, he would never forgive himself for the rest of his life. Long family. Back of the mountain. Longao's figure had just stepped in when the originally pitch-black surroundings suddenly became brightly lit. Longao, I've been waiting for you for a long time. I'm really disappointed that you took so long to come. Seeing the sudden appearance of Long Di Tian, Tong Zun, and the others, Longao was not surprised at all. This was because he had already guessed that the place where the Long family was trapped must have been set up by the Long family. Once he stepped in, he would definitely be surrounded and attacked. Despite knowing that there are tigers on the mountain, one still goes up the mountain. If it were anyone else, even if their family was trapped, how many people would dare to take such a risk? After all, the strength of the Long family was there for all to see. Not to mention ordinary people, even the other 9 great forces would not dare to casually provoke the Long family. However, Longao was not afraid of danger. Even if he knew that it was very dangerous for him to come to the Long family, he still came without hesitation. It was not for anything else, but for his family. Long Di Tian, Tong Zun, let my family go. I'll let you do whatever you want with me. Otherwise, you won't be able to keep me here. If you anger me, we'll go our separate ways. At that time, I can guarantee that the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family will disappear from this continent. Before the two of them could speak, Longao continued, it's up to you to believe it or not. Longao was like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. Tong Zun and Long Di Tian were a little solemn. If Longao really did that, the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family would not be able to deal with him. They didn't have the slightest bit of fear when fighting openly. They were only afraid that Longao would sneak up on them and assassinate them. At that time, they would be in big trouble. Longao, do you really think you have what it takes? Tong Zun sneered, as if he did not care about Longao's threat at all. In fact, Tong Zun was already very afraid of Longao. Otherwise, he would not be so anxious to deal with Longao. Longao was able to obtain such strength in such a short period of time. Furthermore, he had the secret skill to increase his strength. Who knew what would happen to him in the long run? Tong Zun did not know. If he did not remove the roots, they would grow again. Tong Zun did not dare to take the risk. Therefore, Longao had to die. Even if he lost a little, it would be worth it in Tong Zun's eyes. That was indeed the case. Before Longao came, Tong Zun and Long Di Tian had already discussed it. Once Longao came this time, no matter what happened, they had to keep him here. They could not let Longao escape again. Tong Zun, I can promise you that as long as you let me stay in my family, I will not leave. I will be at your disposal. What do you think? How can I believe you? I can make a blood oath. Longao did not have any chance. At the beginning, he wanted to follow Long Fu's plan to save his family. However, after thinking about it, Longao changed his plan. After all, this way, the chances of success would be higher. Seeing Longao make a blood oath, Long Di Tian and Tong Zun looked at each other. The two of them did not expect that Longao would really make a blood oath. After all, this meant that Longao was going to be captured. Was this real? It was precisely because of this that everyone admired Longao. For the sake of his own family, there were not many people who could do such a thing. Senior, what should we do now? Long Di Tian did not know what to do now that things had reached this stage. In his heart, Long Di Tian wanted to agree to Longao's request. After all, he did not want to anger Longao. Otherwise, he would not be able to bear the loss of his Long family. Tong Zun thought for a moment and said, Longao, since this is the case, I can agree to it. He was overjoyed. It seemed like his plan had worked. Tong Zun, Long Di Tian, I will make a blood oath. I hope that the two of you will also make a blood oath. From today onwards, you will not go against my family. If not, the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family will die a horrible death. Longao was not a fool. Only when Tong Zun and Long Di Tian made a blood oath would this matter be considered complete, and his method would be considered a success. No problem. As long as they could kill Longao, Tong Zun and Long Di Tian did not care about Longao's family. Chapter 1321. Tong Zun and Long Di Tian's main target was Longao. As for Longao's family, they didn't care whether they were dead or alive. There was no suspense. In order not to suffer any losses, both Tong Zun and Long Di Tian swore a blood oath. They heaved a sigh of relief. Longao didn't say anything and waited for them to make their move. As expected. In a short while, Long Haosha and tens of thousands of people appeared in front of Longao. Tong Zun smiled and said, Longao, are you satisfied? Ao. Grandpa, you guys leave first. Longao used his spiritual consciousness to tell Long Haosha what he wanted. In order not to implicate his grandson, Long Haosha nodded and immediately left with everyone from Dragon Sect. In less than 5 minutes, the tens of thousands of people had all disappeared into the night. Shangguan Yi's figure disappeared. Longao could obviously see it, but he ignored it because he could guess what Shangguan Yi wanted to do. Longao, we've already released your family. Shouldn't you fulfill your promise and surrender? He shrugged his shoulders indifferently. At the foot of a mountain not far from the Long family. Ao, you? Seeing Longao suddenly appear in front of them, Long Haosha and Long Yi were surprised. They didn't want their grandson and son to get into an accident because of them. Longao, the godlike existence of Dragon Sect. Grandpa, I'll deal with them first, then we'll leave. As expected. Shangguan Yi followed Long Haosha and the others quickly. When he saw Longao, Shangguan Yi was stunned and seemed to be in disbelief. Shouldn't Longao be at the Long family? If that's the case, why is Longao here? What the hell happened? Longao, you. Shangguan Yi didn't continue after saying you 3 times because he didn't know what to say. Even with Longao's speed, he couldn't have been that fast. Moreover, Longao couldn't possibly leave his Long family. Old thief Shangguan, are you surprised to see me? Longao, you really are Longao. Long Haosha and the others didn't laugh when they heard Shangguan Yi's words. They were also curious. Could it be that Longao had a clone? Shangguan Yi, let's talk about our grudges in the future. Right now, I don't have time to waste here with you. Grandpa, let's go. Without lingering any longer, Longao led Longao and the others away. From the beginning to the end, Shangguan Yi did not chase after them, as Longao was too mysterious. The more mysterious he was, the more he feared him. Just like that. Shangguan Yi watched Longao leave. Gradually, the tens of thousands of people disappeared without a trace. Shangguan Yi didn't dare to stay any longer. He immediately turned around and returned to the Long family. His intuition told him that Longao must have come prepared when he came to the Long family. Otherwise, there couldn't be 2 Longaos at the same time. From the beginning to the end, Shangguan Yi didn't know how Longao did it. Ao, what's going on? In order to let his grandfather and parents feel at ease, Longao roughly recounted everything that had happened during this period of time. Long Haosha nodded his head after he finished listening. Long Haosha and Long Yi knew very well that although Longao made it sound easy, it was actually very dangerous. After all, Longao was facing the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family, one of the 10 tripod forces, the real superpowers in the Qianwu continent. Ordinary people wouldn't dare to offend the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family. Ao, you've worked hard during this period of time. He didn't say anything else. Long Haosha was very confident in his grandson. He asked, Ao, what should we do now? Ao had offended the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family. If they continued to implicate Ao, not only them, but also Ao would die. Long Haosha didn't want to implicate Longao. How could Longao not know what his grandfather meant? Longao had already thought about this. Otherwise, he wouldn't have acted rashly this time. Even if he could save his family, he had to think of a way to deal with it. Longao knew that this kind of thing couldn't happen a second time. If it really happened, he would kill himself. Grandfather, you can't go back to the Dragon Sect. As for Longao's mountain, you should go back too. I've already found a good place in the Jojo continent. I believe that neither the Martial Artists Alliance nor the Long family can find you. Longao then told his grandfather about his doubts. He suspected that there was a spy in the Dragon Sect. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy for Tongzun and Long Di Tian to find his family. Ao, I know what to do. We'll go back to the Jojo continent. What about you? Grandfather, the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family won't let me go. Since that's the case, I won't let this go. I want to see how the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family will deal with me. Long Ao had already thought about this. He couldn't hide it. If he did, wouldn't he be telling everyone that he was afraid of the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family? The situation was already in front of him. It was either you die or I die. Since that's the case, he might as well take the initiative and play with the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family. Before Long Haosha could finish, Long Ao continued, Grandfather, you don't have to worry about me. I know what I'm doing. Long Haosha and Long Yi looked at their son and grandson in front of them. For a moment, the three of them didn't know what to do. The three of them knew Longao's personality very well. Once he decided on something, he wouldn't change his mind. Otherwise, he wouldn't have offended the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family. Long Haosha knew that since his grandson had already decided, there was no point in him saying anything. He could only say helplessly, you have to be careful. Remember, no matter what happens, you can't act recklessly. Not only do you have to think about yourself, you have to think about the entire dragon sect. Once you die, no one in the dragon sect will be spared. Do you understand? Longao obviously knew how serious he was. He nodded and said with a smile, "Grandfather, don't worry. I won't act recklessly. All the Divine Dragon Corps slaves and the 10 Supreme Divine Warriors will follow you." Okay. After sending Long Haosha away, Longao turned around and looked in the direction of the Long family. This battle was inevitable. Even if he knew that he couldn't defeat the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family, Longao didn't intend to retreat. After all, what was to come would come. Otherwise, if he took a step back, the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family would take a step forward. Chapter 1322. This time, Longao did not use the power of the Massacre Abyss. From the beginning to the end, Longao did not trust the 5 lords of the deep caves. Until now, he still did not know why the 5 of them would submit to the dragon sect for no reason. Was it because of his strength? Not to mention others, even he himself did not believe it. If that was the case, Longao was very worried. Once he used the power of the 5 to escort his family back to the Jojo continent, wouldn't he become a sinner if the 5 of them harmed his family? As for dealing with the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family, Longao did not use the power of the 5 either. The reason was simple. Whether the 5 of them really submitted to him or not, Longao wanted to save them for last. This time, he was prepared to deal with the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family alone. Long family. Back mountain. Long Di Tien sneered and said, "Longao, since you know what's good for you, I'll give you a chance." Long Di Tien looked at Tong Zun and asked, "Senior, do you want to do it or should I?" "You." Tong Zun and Long Di Tien's current behavior was as if Longao was a cabbage that they were pushing around. Although Longao was very angry, he did not act rashly. If he acted rashly at this time, he would only die. Longao, hand over the spatial artifact and all the secrets on your body, including the secret techniques, and cripple your cultivation. As for your arms, we can keep them for you. We can be considered to have done our best, how about it? Shameless. Hearing Long Di Tien's words, Longao felt a deep sense of disdain. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen someone as shameless as him. He could not understand how someone like Long Di Tien could become the clan leader of the Long family. "Long Di Tien, do you think I'll agree?" There was no anger. "Longao, it's okay if you don't agree. When you die, we can search your soul. By then, no matter what we want, it'll be easy for us. What do you think?" Soul search. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't afraid. Longao knew how to search souls as well, so he naturally knew what it meant. Longao didn't say anything. He only sneered. From the beginning to the end, Tong Zun and Long Di Tien didn't realize that something was wrong. This was because to them, Longao had already made a blood oath. He was basically a piece of meat on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. "Di Tien, let's begin." Tong Zun couldn't wait any longer. Tong Zun felt that Longao was a threat, so he had to deal with him as soon as possible. Then, everything would be fine. But at this moment, the 2 of you, I just made a blood oath to allow you to do whatever you want with me. I've already given you a chance, but you didn't take it. Farewell. This again. The reincarnation doppelganger was about to leave when he was stopped. Not far away. Longao was shocked. This was because he had just summoned his reincarnation doppelganger. He was supposed to be able to summon his reincarnation doppelganger back, but for some reason, he couldn't summon his reincarnation doppelganger back. Longao didn't know what was going on because this had never happened before. Longao knew that no matter what happened, nothing must happen to his reincarnation doppelganger. This was because he already knew that he couldn't summon his reincarnation doppelganger back. It was definitely Tong Zun and Long Di Tian's doing, although he didn't know how they did it. Longao's figure appeared. There were two Longaos. They were exactly the same. Even their auras were the same. Looking at the sudden appearance of another Longao, everyone, including Tong Zun and Long Di Tian, was dumbfounded. Could it be that Longao was a twin? Longao, you. He waved his hand. Longao's face was filled with impatience. He sneered and said, Tong Zun, Long Di Tian, I have already fulfilled my promise. It's you guys who aren't confident. I'm going to leave now. I'd like to see how you guys are going to stop me. Tong Zun and Long Di Tian's faces were extremely ugly. This was because no one knew how many secrets Longao had. Once Longao successfully left, things would get troublesome. Kill. Long Di Tian wasn't willing to wait any longer. While Tong Zun and the rest were here, the 20 Nirvana realm martial artists would attack together. The chances of them killing Longao were still very high. But at this moment, Di Tian, that's enough. Hearing the sudden appearance of the figure, everyone was dumbfounded. Even Tong Zun didn't expect it. Long Di Tian, Long Hang and the rest were even more surprised. They knelt down on one knee and shouted in unison, Greetings, old ancestor. The Long family's old ancestor, Long Tian. Looking at the two middle-aged men who suddenly appeared, Longao obviously wasn't unfamiliar with them. This was because he had seen Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon in his dream. That's right, the two who just appeared were Long Tian and the middle-aged man who was transformed from the primordial divine dragon. Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon didn't die. Everyone was shocked, including Longao and Tong Zun. This was because everyone knew that Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon worked together to fight against the heavenly Tao. In the end, they were defeated and fell. For the past 10,000 years, almost everyone believed that Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon had completely fallen. They didn't even have the chance to enter reincarnation. Di Tian, this matter ends here. Even if they didn't want to, Long Di Tian and Long Hang didn't dare to say a word. Moreover, the two old ancestors were still alive. This was even better than killing Longao. This was because the two of them knew what the sudden appearance of the two old ancestors meant. Originally, the Long family was already weaker than the Martial Artists Alliance. However, with the arrival of the old ancestors, the Long family was no longer afraid of the Martial Artists Alliance. Brother Tong, it's been 10,000 years. How have you been? Tong Zun was a little stunned. He originally thought that Long Tian was dead, but now, not only was Long Tian alive, but the primordial divine dragon was also alive. There was no need to talk about the strength of the man and the dragon. Back then, they dared to fight against the heavenly Tao. This in itself showed how strong Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon were. However, Tong Zun wasn't afraid at all. This was because 10,000 years ago, he and Long Tian were both super geniuses. In a one-on-one situation, Tong Zun wasn't too worried. Brother Long, I believe you know about Longao's matter. I hope that the Long family won't interfere in the grudge between me and Longao. Consider it as giving me some face. How about it? Things had already reached this stage, but Tong Zun still didn't choose to give up. No matter what happened, Longao must die today. Tong Zun didn't dare to wait, and he couldn't afford to wait. Who knew what would happen to Longao in the future? What if Longao could threaten him? It wasn't wrong to take precautions. However, would Long Tian agree? Brother Tong, I won't interfere in the grudge between you and Longao. Hearing this, Tong Zun was instantly happy. He was worried that Long Tian would interfere in this matter. If that happened, things would be troublesome. Chapter 1323. But before Tong Zun could finish being happy, Brother Tong, although I can ignore the grudge between you and Longao, you have to promise me one thing. Please tell me. Brother Long Tongzun's intuition told him that it wasn't that simple. Could it be that Long Tien wanted to help Longao? Not likely. If it was in the past, Long Tien's actions would be understandable. After all, Longao belonged to the Long family. But now, Longao had left the Long family and established his own dragon sect. This meant that even Longao didn't admit that he was a disciple of the Long family. If that was the case, Long Tien didn't have to help Longao. Not only that, the grudge between Longao and the Long family wasn't any worse than Tongzun's. Could it be that Long Tien would help Longao against the Long family? Brother Tong, this is my Long family. I can ignore the grudge between you and Longao, but it's not limited to the Long family. What did that mean? Tongzun was not an idiot. He already understood that Long Tien was helping Longao in disguise. Before Tongzun could say anything, Long Tien continued, Brother Tong, as long as Longao leaves the Long family, I won't interfere. I won't see you out. An eviction order. Long Tien wasn't afraid of Tongzun. Unless the marvelous mathematician and Tian Dao came, they wouldn't be afraid of anyone, including Tongzun. Tongzun was also aware of this. Tongzun snorted. Without further ado, Tongzun turned around and left with Tong Tiendi and the others. In just a short while, Tongzun and the others had disappeared into the dark night. Tongzun chose to compromise in the end. However, he wouldn't leave. He would stay outside the Long family and wait for Longao to come out. He didn't believe that Longao would be able to escape without Long Tien's help. Senior, thank you. He was a senior, not an ancestor. The way Longao addressed Long Tien had already made his stance clear. Before Long Di Tien and Long Hang could get angry, Long Tien waved his hand and said with a smile, Longao, we finally meet. I'm looking forward to that day. Does the elder ancestor know Longao? Hearing the conversation between the old ancestor and Longao, even if Long Di Tien and the others were idiots, they would still be able to understand the meaning behind it. Precisely because of this, everyone was extremely shocked. They did not know how the old ancestor knew Longao. The timing didn't seem right either. Di Tien, all of you should leave. What was going on? They were surprised and shocked, but Long Di Tien and the others still slowly left. But no matter what, the arrival of the old ancestor was a great thing for the Long family. For so many years, the Long family had actually been very bitter. Ever since Long Tien and the primordial divine dragon had been defeated by the heavenly Tao, the status of the dragon race and the Long family in the continent had become very awkward. Now that the two old ancestors had suddenly arrived, if news of this spread, the status of the Long family and the dragon race in the continent would instantly rise. Back Mountain. After Tongzun, Long Di Tien and the others had all left, there were only 3 people left in the Back Mountain, Longao, Long Tien and the primordial divine dragon. Longao, you should know my expectations for you. Since that's the case, why did you choose to leave the family? Dissatisfaction. Long Tien had originally planned to nurture Longao. Otherwise, he would not have given the dragon seal to Longao. But what was the result? Long Tien had never imagined that Longao would choose to leave the family and establish the dragon sect. Not only that, the enmity between the Longao and the family seemed to have reached the point where they could not tolerate each other. It would be unrealistic to say that he was not angry. Longao, of course, could sense the dissatisfaction that was being emitted from Long Tien. Senior, the enmity between me and the Long family was not initiated by me. Continue. In the beginning, I was proud that I was a disciple of the Long family. But as time passed, I no longer thought that way. Longao did not try to hide anything. He roughly explained what he was thinking and what he had done in the Scarlet Fire town back then. After listening to him, Long Tien and the primordial divine dragon looked at each other. They had never thought about what happened next, nor did they know about it. In their hearts, they had always hoped to break through the martial Dao pinnacle realm and defeat Tian Dao. If that was the case, there would be a problem with the hierarchy of the family. At the very least, such a hierarchy would not allow the disciples of the family to have a sense of belonging. But it was too late. Longao had already left the family and established the dragon sect. Both Long Tien and the primordial divine dragon knew that Longao would not withdraw from the dragon sect under such circumstances and choose to submit to the family. Losing such a genius, Long Tien was more or less a little disappointed. Longao, let's not talk about this for now. The enmity between you and the family will be written off from now on. As for the enmity between you and Tongzun, forgive me for not being able to help. Understood. Longao had never thought that Long Tien would help him. He had no complaints because no matter who it would be the same. On one side, it was the Martial Artists Alliance and Tongzun. On the other side, it was him. He believed that no matter who it was, they would choose Tongzun and the Martial Artists Alliance instead of him. It was better to rely on oneself than to rely on others. No matter when, relying on external help was not the right thing to do. Long Fu. As Long Tien's voice rang out, Long Fu's figure appeared. Seeing that the two patriarchs were still alive, Long Fu was pleasantly surprised. However, he immediately felt helpless because both of them were masters. What should he do? Old. Looking at Longao, Long Fu didn't say old master in the end. Long Tien and the primordial divine dragon were startled. They hadn't thought that Long Fu would waver. In their opinion, as long as they wanted to, they could take back the dragon seal at any time. The two of them were very clear on what the dragon seal meant. In the martial heaven continent, the dragon seal was the strongest divine item. Long Tien cursed inside, but his expression was very calm. Long Fu, we've already been reborn. According to our previous agreement, shouldn't you return to my side now? Longao wasn't the slightest bit surprised. After all, the dragon seal belonged to him now. It wasn't something that Long Tien could take back whenever he wanted. Furthermore, Longao also wanted to see what Long Fu would choose. Long Tien, primordial divine dragon, we did have an agreement back then. But the premise was that Longao couldn't pass my test. Hearing Long Fu's words, Long Tien and the primordial divine dragon were both shocked. The two of them seemed to already know what Long Fu was going to say next. If that was really the case, they would have really gone for wool and come home shorn. If they had known, they wouldn't have handed over the dragon seal no matter what. Chapter 1324. Long Fu, what do you mean? In fact, Long Tien and the primordial divine dragon had already guessed that Long Fu would choose Longao. Back then, the two of them had fallen and entered the cycle of reincarnation, but they were unable to take the dragon seal away. Out of desperation, they could only think of this method. To find a successor. It was the dragon seal that Longao had inadvertently obtained in the Scarlet Fire Town's ancestral hall. According to their agreement, Long Fu would not take the initiative to recognize a master unless Long Fu approved of it. Long Tien and the primordial divine dragon were well aware of how difficult it was to make Long Fu recognize a master. Therefore, from the beginning to the end, Long Tien and the primordial divine dragon had never thought that Long Fu would really recognize Longao as his master. This was big trouble. Both Long Tien and the primordial divine dragon were very reluctant to lose the dragon seal for nothing. Sorry, I only have one master now, and that is Longao. Long Fu's meaning was very clear. After saying that, Long Fu's figure disappeared and returned to the dragon seal space. From the beginning to the end, Longao had not said a word. Only now did he truly heave a sigh of relief. He was really worried that Long Fu would choose Long Tien and not him. If that was the case, then wouldn't his efforts have been in vain? Longao. Long Tien was very angry and wanted nothing more than to kill Longao, but reason told him that this was absolutely impossible. Longao, since Long Fu has chosen you as his master, then from now on, you are the dragon seal's true master. Many thanks. Things having come to this point, Longao also did not know what to say. Go. If there is anything in the future, I will look for you. Goodbye. They were enemies, not friends. Longao had always thought that he and Long Tien were not friends. There was no such thing as a free lunch. The reason why Long Tien chose him was because he wanted to help him, not him. Looking at the gradually disappearing figure, the primordial mystical dragon said helplessly, Longao is too unpredictable. Neither you nor I expected that Long Fu would choose to recognize him as his master. What should we do now? Variables. Even now, Long Tien was still unable to react. Now, it seemed that Longao was indeed a huge variable. He said helplessly, "We cannot kill Longao at this time. Otherwise, our 10,000 years of preparation will go to waste." The primordial divine dragon did not continue speaking because he knew that nothing could go wrong with their 10,000 years of preparation. Longao did not immediately leave the Long family. Instead, he entered the dragon seal space. The reason was simple. Longao did not need to guess. He was sure that although Tong Zun and Tong Tiendi had left the Long family, they definitely did not leave. They were waiting for him outside. Once he appeared, he would definitely be besieged. 1 against 10. Longao knew himself very well. Furthermore, the sudden appearance of Long Tien and the primordial mystical dragon had made Longao a little flustered. Because from the beginning, Longao had never expected that Long Tien and the primordial mystical dragon were still alive and would choose to descend at this time. Could it be that Long Tien and the primordial mystical dragon were not afraid of the heavenly Tao? Could it be that the heavenly Tao was not present? Longao could only think of this possibility. If the heavenly Tao was present, Long Tien and the primordial mystical dragon would definitely not dare to appear. Just like before, when the dragon tribe was sealed by the heavenly Tao and was in imminent danger. Even so, Long Tien and the primordial mystical dragon did not appear in the end. They would rather sacrifice the Long family and the dragon tribe. The fact that Long Tien and the primordial mystical dragon did not appear was already a problem. Just as expected. The news of Long Tien and the primordial mystical dragon's sudden arrival spread through the entire martial heaven continent. Everyone who received the news turned pale with fright. All of them found it hard to believe. They did not know why Long Tien and the primordial mystical dragon would suddenly descend to the Long family. Hadn't Long Tien and the primordial mystical dragon already died? Since that was the case, then why hadn't Long Tien and the primordial mystical dragon appeared earlier? After all, the heavenly Tao had sealed the dragon tribe. At this time, the continent was abuzz with discussion. The biggest topic was Long Tien and the primordial mystical dragon's sudden arrival. Everyone was guessing why Long Tien and the primordial mystical dragon would suddenly appear. The contents of their guesses were roughly the same as Longao's. Long Tien and the primordial mystical dragon clearly knew that the heavenly Tao would deal with them. Why had they still descended? Were they not afraid of the heavenly Tao? Long Tien and the primordial mystical dragon's arrival caused the martial heaven continent to become even more simple and obscure. First, it was Tong Zun of the Martial Artists Alliance. Now, it was Long Tien of the Long family. Could it be that those old monsters from 10,000 years ago were still alive? Within the dragon seal space. Long Fu, what's going on? Long Fu seemed to have guessed that Long Ao would ask such a question. He wasn't the slightest bit surprised. He recounted everything that had happened. So that was the case. Long Ao helplessly nodded. In the end, his luck was pretty good. According to what Long Fu had said, if he hadn't obtained the Dragon Seal's approval, then not only would he have been unable to obtain his current accomplishments, he might have even died. Long Ao already understood that the so-called master recognition wasn't Long Fu recognizing him as master, but the Dragon Seal recognizing him as master. This was the greatest difference between him and Long Tien. Previously, Long Tien had been recognized as master by Long Fu, but not by the Dragon Seal. So even the current Long Tien was unable to take back the Dragon Seal. If it was him, as long as he didn't faint, he would be able to summon the Dragon Seal at any time. Long Ao was even more clear in his heart that even if Long Fu wanted to leave him and return to Long Tien's side, it seemed to have become impossible. After all, the Dragon Seal had already recognized him as its master. Even if it was Long Fu, there was nothing he could do. Master, forgive me for speaking bluntly, but Long Tien and the primordial mystical dragon seemed to be planning something big. Originally, 10,000 years ago, the two of them completely had the chance to merge with their core energy and reach the peak of the martial path. But at the final moment, The two of them chose to give up. Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was a little surprised. Choosing to give up on merging with their core energy was equivalent to choosing to give up on reaching the peak of the martial path. The peak of the martial path was a realm that every cultivator dreamed of reaching. If that was the case, were Long Tian and the primordial mystical dragon stupid? Why would they choose to give up? If that was really the case, then this matter was really a little strange. After thinking about it, Longao really couldn't figure out what Long Tian and the primordial mystical dragon were planning to do that could surpass reaching the peak of the martial path. Long Fu didn't doubt Longao's words at all. No matter what, Long Fu had been following Long Tian all this time, so he definitely knew. It was just that he didn't know the reason. From this, one could imagine how gloomy Long Tian was. Even Long Fu didn't know. It was also because of this that Longao could almost be sure that Long Fu was treating him as master at this moment. Chapter 1325. Long Fu, you're saying that Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon's plan is related to me? Longao was not a fool. He was able to discern a trace of clues from Long Fu's words. It seemed impossible. But 10,000 years ago, he was not even born yet. Could it be that Long Tian had the ability to predict the future? Master, you're right. Although I don't know what they want, it definitely has something to do with you. Looking at the hesitant Long Fu, Longao was curious. He said, Long Fu, what do you want to say? He thought about it. In the end, Long Fu said, Master, Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon descended this time. According to their character, they would definitely kill you. But they didn't. At this point, Long Fu did not continue speaking. The meaning of his words was very clear. Longao did not continue asking. He knew that Long Fu definitely did not know about this. It was pointless to ask. The most important thing now was to find a way to leave the Long family. Long family was surrounded by Tongzun. Once Longao appeared, one could imagine what kind of result it would be. At this moment, Tongzun's face was dark. He did not expect that Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon, who were killed by the heavenly Tao back then, would not die. Instead, they chose to descend now. With the arrival of the man and the dragon, Tongzun was sure of one thing. The heavenly Tao was not here. Tongzun was confident that if the heavenly Tao was here, Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon would not dare to come out even if they were given 10,000 guts. In fact, when the dragon clan's seal was lifted, he should have thought that the heavenly Tao might have left. Otherwise, no one in the Qianwu continent would be able to lift the origin source seal unless the godly mathematician personally descended. But thinking about it, the godly mathematician would definitely not appear. Otherwise, the heavenly Tao would not dare to casually seal the dragon clan. Long Tian's sudden arrival had completely disrupted his plan. Originally, this was the best opportunity to kill Longao, but it was all ruined by Long Tian. If it wasn't for the fact that he wasn't completely confident, Tongzun wouldn't have given Long Tian any face at all. In the end, Tongzun was still very wary of Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon. Ancestor, does Longao dare to come out? Long Tian was obviously biased towards Longao. Everyone could see this point, but no one dared to say a single word of nonsense. How could Tongzun not think of this possibility? On his side, everything was ready, and only Longao was left. But would Longao dare to come out? Long Tian played us. Looks like this matter is going to be a little tricky. Was he going to leave just like that? If he left and Longao appeared, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Leave. Or not to leave. Let's wait for 3 more days. If Longao doesn't come out in 3 days, we'll go back and make further plans. Yes, Ancestor. Who would dare to disobey Tongzun's orders? There were 9 Nirvana realm martial artists in the Martial Artists Alliance, including Ren Tianxing. Previously, Ren Tianxing wasn't willing to submit to the Martial Artists Alliance, but ever since Tongzun appeared, Ren Tianxing could be said to have obediently stayed in the Martial Artists Alliance. Even if it meant risking his life, Ren Tianxing didn't forget to flatter Tongzun. Just like that, Tongzun and the other 8 waited in front of the Long family, waiting for Longao to come out. The Tianwu continent was divided into 10 factions. The Long family, the Alchemy Guild, the Martial Artists Alliance, the WN Shou sect, the Heaven and Earth sect, the Five Elements sect, the Wanzhan school, the Sword sect, the Purple Thunder sect, and the Black Heaven sect. The 10 factions were also known as the One Clan, 2 Alliances, 3 sects, and 4 sects. The strength of the 10 factions were similar. Under normal circumstances, no one could do anything to the other. Therefore, the 10 factions had always minded their own business. But now, with the arrival of Tongzun and Long Tian, the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family's strength had obviously increased. They steadily suppressed the other 8 superpowers. The other 8 superpowers seemed to be very unhappy with this situation. As the saying goes, a mountain can't accommodate 2 tigers. The 2 ancestors of the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family had arrived at the same time. Unknowingly, the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family were against each other. Especially when Long Tian helped Longao and didn't give Tongzun face. This made Tongzun very unhappy. It seemed that he couldn't take it lying down. According to Tongzun's plan, he was going to kill Longao in front of the Long family. However, Long Tian's sudden arrival disrupted everything. 3 days. Tongzun guarded the Long family for 3 days, but he still didn't see Longao appear. Needless to say, Tongzun was sure that Longao didn't dare to come out. Therefore, he had no choice but to return to the Martial Artists Alliance. The Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family were at each other's throats. Everyone knew that sooner or later, the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family would definitely go to war. 3 days later, after confirming that Tongzun had left the Long family, Longao left the Dragon Seal space. He glanced left and right, then flew towards the distance. In the blink of an eye, his body had disappeared without a trace. Longao was very clear about the sudden appearance of Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon. It seemed that the grudge between him and the Long family would come to an end. As for the grudge between him and the Martial Artists Alliance, it would continue. However, with Tongzun in the Martial Artists Alliance, it would be at least 10 times harder to deal with the Martial Artists Alliance now. He had nowhere to go. At this time, Murong Guenar found Longao again and invited Longao to the Sword sect. Somewhat curious, Longao didn't know why Murong Guenar would find him at this time. After all, Murong Guenar had already made it clear that with Tongzun's deterrence, the Sword sect wouldn't help him. Since that was the case, what could he do even if he went to the Sword sect? There was no other way. Longao didn't want to continue causing trouble. Moreover, he also wanted to see why Murong Guenar had come to find him this time. As the Sword sect master, Murong Guenar couldn't be idle and cause trouble for no reason. Sword sect. Murong Guenar and Yi Xian were a little surprised that Longao hadn't died and had instead successfully left the Long family twice. The two of them were more and more certain that apart from having unlimited potential, Longao's strength, divine ability, and spatial divine tool were all indispensable. Longao had too many secrets on him. No matter who it was, not to mention a divine path warrior, even a Nirvana realm warrior wouldn't have the chance to successfully leave the Long family twice. It was impossible. Longao, did Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon really appear? Whether it was Murong Guenar or Yi Xian, they both wanted to verify whether Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon had really descended. It was one thing to hear about it, but it was another to actually verify it. Chapter 1326. You called me here just to ask about this. Longao was a little depressed. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have come. However, Longao still nodded and said, Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon are not dead. If I'm not mistaken, they should be in a Long family. The news that Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon were still alive was no secret. Murong Guenar and Yi Xian both nodded. Their expressions were a little ugly. Longao, I've called you here mainly to tell you 2 things. Master, please tell me. Longao was very curious. He didn't know what Murong Guenar was talking about. Longao, if I'm not mistaken, You should be in the Earth God realm now. Yes, I just broke through. Just broke through. Yi Xian and Murong Guenar felt a little helpless. A few years ago, Longao was just a piece of trash in Scarlet Fire Town. In just a few short years, Longao went from a piece of trash to an Earth God realm martial artist. This kind of cultivation speed was completely unprecedented and would never be surpassed by anyone in the future. The two of them vaguely remembered that when Longao left the sword sect, he was still in the man-god realm and showed no signs of breaking through. However, Longao left the sword sect. In less than a month, Longao broke through from the man-god realm to the earth god realm. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it even if they were beaten to death. It was hard to imagine. If Longao wasn't born in the 9 provinces continent and was a disciple of the 10 great sects, then Longao's starting point would be higher and his achievements would be even higher. If Longao was a disciple of the sword sect, then how great would that be? Master, if you have something to say, please say it. Longao was very disgusted with the way he talked. If it weren't for Murong Guenar's identity, he would have already turned and left. Longao, although your cultivation speed is already very fast, in this world, if you want to protect yourself and your family, your strength is far from enough. I believe you can understand that. He nodded. Longao didn't know what Murong Guenar wanted to say, but how could he not know the current situation of the continent? In this dog-eat-dog world, strength was everything. Without strength, he could only stand there and take a beating. With strength, he could do whatever he wanted. Longao, the Divine Way and the Supreme Divine Way are two different concepts. If you can break through the Supreme Divine Way, I believe you will be one step closer to the Nirvana realm. My grass. Longao cursed in his heart. Murong Guenar was still dawdling. How could he not know the difference between the Divine Tao and the Supreme Divine Tao? However, he had just broken through to the Earth God realm. Even if his talent was great, his cultivation was still one step at a time. It was impossible for him to rush in. Not to mention the Supreme Divine Way, just the Heavenly God realm, wanting to break through from the Earth God realm to the Heavenly God realm was not a simple matter. Could it be that Murong Guenar had a way? You guessed it. Thank you, Master. Longao was not a fool. When he saw Murong Guenar's expression, he already knew that Murong Guenar looked for him this time. If he could break through to the Supreme Divine Way realm as soon as possible, of course, it was something worth being surprised about. As Murong Guenar said, the Divine Way and the Supreme Divine Way were two different concepts. If he could break through to the Supreme Divine Way realm, then he would be one step closer to the Nirvana realm. Under normal circumstances, it was simply too difficult to break through from the Divine Way realm to the Supreme Divine Way realm. Longao, my method is actually very simple, which is to accept the succession. Longao did not say anything. He clearly knew that Murong Guenar must be aware of the consequences of accepting the succession. Once he accepted the succession, unless he could obtain a better one in the future, it would be more difficult for him to continue breaking through. If he wanted to obtain the succession, there would be plenty of opportunities. Why wait until now? As if he could guess Longao's thoughts, Murong Guenar smiled and said, Longao, the succession that I'm talking about is a little different from normal ones. Even if you obtain and refine it, it won't hinder your cultivation in the future. Oh, there was such a good thing. Longao did not expect that the succession would not be affected. Master, may I know what's going on? Longao smiled. Longao, we'll talk about this later. This time, I'm here mainly for two things. The first thing is your cultivation breakthrough. As for the second thing, I want to tell you that Yu Yin can't recover her consciousness casually. Yu Yin. When he heard Murong Guenar mention Yu Yin, Longao instantly became nervous. He could not wait to ask, Master, what's going on? Longao did not have time to help Yu Yin recover her consciousness. According to his previous decision, he would first settle the Long family and then return to the Jojo continent. In this way, he could devote himself to recovering her consciousness. However, Murong Guenar's meaning was very clear. Yu Yin could not recover her consciousness directly. Was there something fishy about this? Longao, I just received the news. In order to deal with you, the Martial Artists Alliance not only used a secret technique to make Yu Yin lose her consciousness, but also to devour her divine soul. Even if you can find a divine weapon to protect your divine soul, once she recovers her consciousness, Wang Yu Yin will be doomed. So that was it. Of course, Longao could understand Murong Guenar's meaning. In the end, the Martial Artists Alliance wanted to use Yu Yin to deal with him. It was a double insurance. Fortunately, he did not save Yu Yin and help Yu Yin recover her consciousness. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Now that he thought about it, he felt a trace of lingering fear. Longao did not know that once he saved Yu Yin and restored Yu Yin's consciousness, causing Yu Yin's divine soul to be devoured, what should he do then? Master, do you have any ideas? Murong Guenar certainly knew Longao's feelings for Yu Yin. For Yu Yin, Longao dared to make a scene in the Martial Artists Alliance alone. It was obvious that Longao loved Yu Yin very much. It was also because of this that Murong Guenar was so sad about this. Otherwise, he would not be looking for trouble. Longao, if you have a divine weapon to protect your divine soul, I can help you and Yu Yin recover her divine soul. Although I am not 100% sure, I am at least 95% sure. Longao finally knew why Murong had asked him to come this time. Both matters were beneficial to him. Moreover, he had saved Yu Yin. It was still the same question. Why would the sword sect help him? Moreover, they had spared no effort to help him. If there wasn't something fishy about it, then he wouldn't believe it no matter what. However, since things had already come to this point, he had to save Yu Yin first. As for other things, he would think about it later. Chapter 1327. He was very scared. According to Murong Guenar, it was fortunate that he did not make a move. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Longao was very anxious. Originally, he had planned to deal with the Long family and the Martial Artists Alliance, then return to the Jojo continent to save Yu Yin. But now, Longao could not wait to leave the Dragon sect and immediately rushed to the Jojo continent. With this lesson in mind, Longao would never let the tragedy happen again. Therefore, everyone in the Dragon sect, including Dugu Bai and the others, did not continue to return to the Dragon Peak. Longao found an extremely secluded valley in the Jojo continent. The new headquarters of the Dragon sect was located in the secluded valley. Longao left more than 400 Divine Dragon Corps slaves and 10 Elder Corps slaves behind. With the current strength of the Dragon sect, as long as it was not a Nirvana martial artist who attacked, the Dragon sect would be able to deal with it easily. In the secluded valley. The valley was temporarily named the Dragon Valley by Longao. In the Dragon Valley. In just a few days, countless houses had appeared in the valley, and there was even a small palace. Longao's return was cheered by everyone because if it were not for Longao this time, they believed that all of them would have died. Until now, many people had yet to react. This was because the people who had captured them this time were the Martial Arts Alliance and the Long family. In everyone's eyes, they were super existences that were completely out of reach. That was exactly the case. Longao was now a godlike existence in the eyes of everyone in the Dragon sect. Longao came back this time to take Yu Yin away. In the palace. After chatting for a while, Longao went straight to the point and said, "Grandfather, this time I'm going to take Yu Yin away and think of a way to save her. As for the Dragon sect, I'll leave it to you." He nodded. Of course, Long Haosha knew the seriousness of the matter, especially when Yu Yin was Wang Yidao's granddaughter and was deeply in love with his grandson. No matter what, nothing could happen to Yu Yin. Leave the Dragon sect to me. Don't worry. He thought for a moment. Long Haosha sighed deeply, his face filled with vicissitudes of life. Grandfather, what's wrong? What you said is correct. There is indeed a traitor in our Dragon sect. Furthermore, that traitor is your big brother. Brother? Dragon Stone. Longao was also a bit surprised, because he had never thought that the person who betrayed the family this time would be his third brother, who was also his second uncle's son. If it had been anyone else, given his grandfather's personality, he would have long executed that person. However, Longsha's status was different. Even if it was Longao, he would not be able to do it to his own grandson. As the saying goes, even a vicious tiger would not eat its cubs. Grandpa, let me talk to third brother. Longao nodded. After this incident, Longao seemed to have aged a lot. If not for Longao's great improvement in cultivation, he might not have been able to hold on until now. Dragon Valley, within the prison. Other than Longao and Long Yi, no one else knew that Longsha had betrayed the dragon sect. At the end of the day, Longao and the others did not want to kill Longsha. Otherwise, if this matter were to spread, Longsha would become a sinner of the entire dragon sect. At that time, even if Longao and the others were unwilling, they would not be able to do anything. Third brother. Longsha, who was sitting on the ground, had a face full of beard. He was not even 25 years old, but at this moment, he looked like a man in his 30s or even 40s. He looked as dispirited as he could possibly be. Seventh brother. Seeing Longao suddenly appear, Longsha was overjoyed at first. Then, he let out a deep sigh like a deflated balloon and said with self-blame, "Seventh brother, I deserve to die. Tell Grandpa that I, Longsha, betrayed the family. Death is not enough for me. Deep brotherly love. How could Longao bear to kill his third brother? If that was the case, what would Grandpa do? What would father do? What would second uncle do? What would the family do? Third brother, I want to know why you did this." Longao knew very well that even if his third brother was a bit of a spoiled brat, he would never betray the family. Regardless of whether others would believe it, he would never believe it. Seventh brother. Third brother, if you still think of yourself as a member of the Long family, then tell me. It's not scary to make a mistake. What's scary is not being willing to face it. Third brother, I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in you. Longsha suddenly raised his head and stared at Longao in front of him. He directly cried. No matter when, tears were like knees. It was the most precious thing for a man. But at this moment, Longsha cried. He cried so hard that it was a mess. Longao didn't try to persuade him because he knew that his third brother needed to be released. The more Longsha acted like this, the more he was sure that his third brother must have suffered. After an unknown amount of time. Seventh brother, not long ago, I went out to do something. Halfway, I was stopped by Longhang. I don't know what happened, but my mind was controlled and I told him the location of the family. After that, I prepared to kill Longhang, but he didn't kill me and didn't say anything. So that was what happened. If that was the case, then his third brother definitely wasn't a traitor. After all, with his third brother's power, how could he have resisted Longhang's soul control? What a despicable and shameless Longhang. Longao clenched his fists. His fury was like a volcano that was about to erupt. If he hadn't forcefully suppressed it, he would have long since erupted. Third brother, this matter isn't your fault. Come with me. Longao brought Longsha to Longao and told him what had happened. After hearing it, everyone agreed that Longsha hadn't betrayed the family. After all, he hadn't been able to act on his own volition. After dealing with the family's matters, Longao didn't hesitate in the slightest. He immediately brought Yu Yin with him to the martial heaven continent. The current Yu Yin was like a walking corpse. She did not have any consciousness. There was no joy, anger, sorrow, or joy. Her eyes were empty. Her entire body was emitting a deathly still aura. If it wasn't for the fact that Yu Yin was still able to walk and breathe, perhaps everyone would have thought that Yu Yin was already dead. On the way, Bai Ling took care of Yu Yin in every possible way. Longao was incomparably moved, but he didn't say anything. He knew that other than being kind, the biggest reason for Bai Ling's actions was him. Bai Ling, you must be tired. Rest for now. Leave Yu Yin to me. Having such a close female friend was a blessing. Longao felt sorry for Bai Ling. Obediently nodding, Bai Ling transformed into a ball of white light and returned to the dragon seal space. The god-punishing sword had already been given to his reincarnation clone. As for Xiling and Bai Ling, they were directly transferred into the dragon seal space. Yu Yin, you'll be able to regain your consciousness in a bit more time. Without waiting for Longao to react, Yu Yin's empty eyes suddenly shot out 2 rays of light, and her entire person underwent a huge change. Chapter 1328. Longao did not expect Yu Yin to attack him so suddenly. Yu Yin was not in her right mind. She might not even be able to recognize him, let alone attack him. But what happened in the end? Longao was hit by Yu Yin consecutively as he was caught off guard. After 18 consecutive palms, Longao flew out like a kite with a broken string before he could react. Yu Yin's strength was not what it used to be. Yu Yin had the strength of a nirvana realm, so one could imagine the power of her 18 consecutive palms. An ordinary person would have been dead by now. But Longao's situation was a little different. With the help of the holy body of desolation and Xiling's help, Longao's physical defense had reached an extremely terrifying level. Splat! Blood spurted out. Longao did not care about the pain in his body. He turned around and shot toward Yu Yin. Longao did not want to deal with Yu Yin. Instead, he wanted to see what happened to Yu Yin and why she attacked him. Before Longao could get close, 2 figures had already appeared and forcefully pulled him back. What's going on? Longao asked as he stared at Yu Yin. At this moment, Yu Yin's empty eyes were filled with murderous intent. Her body was releasing a terrifying murderous aura as if she was a killing machine. Was this still Yu Yin? Longao knew very well that this was definitely not Yu Yin's intention. Otherwise, Yu Yin would not have attacked him. Brother Long, Sister Yu Yin's situation is very bad. What's going on? Hearing Bai Ling's words, Longao became even more anxious and worried. He finally got the blood lotus and thought that Yu Yin could regain her consciousness. But now, if I'm not wrong, Sister Yu Yin's spiritual soul should be controlled by Tongzun. What does that mean? What I'm trying to say is very simple. Yu Yin's soul was controlled by Tongzun and she became his puppet. That's why she attacked you. Do you understand? Puppets. Hearing these 2 words, Longao's face was almost gloomy to the extreme. Of course, he knew what the puppet meant. What a good Tongzun. Big brother Long, you mustn't go there. Right now, big sister Yu Yin's main target is you. Bai Ling had just finished speaking. Yu Yin suddenly laughed crazily. Her laughter was filled with madness and disdain. It was like the laughter of another person. Longao, are you surprised? Actually, I'm also surprised that you didn't die. I have to admit that your defense is really abnormal. Tongzun. Longao was certain that Yuin's silhouette was Tongzun. Just as he expected. Just like what Xiling and Bai Ling said, Yu Yin was now controlled by Tongzun and she had become his puppet. Tongzun, what do you want? Longao, don't you want to save Yu Yin? Alright, I can give you a chance. Come to the Martial Artists Alliance. Remember, you're alone. What if I don't go? Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Laughing crazily, Tongzun sneered and said, do you believe that I can make Yu Yin commit suicide? Right now. Longao didn't have the slightest doubt. Since Tongzun was able to control Yu Yin's soul, then there was no doubt that as long as Tongzun was willing, Yu Yin could commit suicide at any time. Even if she didn't commit suicide, as long as Tongzun was willing, she could self-destruct. Let go of Yu Yin and I can go to the Martial Artists Alliance alone. Do you think I'll believe you? You made a blood oath before and you still left. Tongzun was very confident that Longao could make a scene at the Martial Artists Alliance for Yu Yin, even at the risk of his own life. This showed how much Longao loved Yu Yin. That was right. After Tongzun failed to kill Longao with the help of Yu Yin, he immediately thought of this idea. He wanted to make Longao come to the Martial Artists Alliance. When the time came, he would close the door and beat the dog. This time, Tongzun was ready. Longao knew how shameless Tongzun was. But how could he not go? Tongzun, you and I are both smart people. There's no need to waste time. I can go to the Martial Artists Alliance, but you have to let go of Yu Yin first. I believe you've already set up a trap. If you still let me go, you and the Martial Artists Alliance can go to hell. What Longao said was the truth. Under the trap set up by the Martial Artists Alliance, if he could still leave the Martial Artists Alliance, then the Martial Artists Alliance wouldn't have the face to continue attacking him. Ha ha ha, Longao, since you said that you and I are both smart people, then I'll tell you the truth. I won't let go of Yu Yin unless you come here personally. As for whether you can save Yu Yin, it depends on your luck and strength. What should he do? Longao was in a dilemma. As for Bai Ling and Zi Ling, they had already returned to the Dragon Seal space. No matter what, the two sword spirits weren't at their peak strength. Not to mention dealing with Tong Zun, he believed that the two of them wouldn't even be able to deal with an ordinary Nirvana Realm warrior. Tong Zun, you've gone too far. At the same time, a sword chi streaked across the sky. Before Longao could react, a middle-aged man had already appeared. Seeing this man, Longao's face suddenly changed, as if he couldn't believe it. This man was none other than the old ancestor of the sword sect, Zhen Tian. Longao had met Zhen Tian before, and Zhen Tian had even helped him. That was why Longao had never expected Zhen Tian to appear. Wasn't Zhen Tian sealed and even killed? Seeing Zhen Tian's appearance and Long Tian's and Tong Zun's arrival, Longao's intuition told him that the 10 great ancestors had not really fallen. They were just hiding to cultivate. For some reason, these old monsters kept appearing one after another. Could it be that something was going to happen? Zhen Tian, are you going to help Longao too? I'll give you 2 hours. After saying that, Zhen Tian didn't continue speaking. Longao didn't say anything either. As for Yu Yin, she was in a daze. Her eyes were empty, as if she had returned to her previous state. 2 hours later. In the distant void, a black dot appeared. The black dot was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, Tong Zun had already appeared. He looked coldly at Longao and Zhen Tian and sneered, Zhen Tian, we haven't seen each other for 10,000 years. I didn't expect you to appear at this time. 2 hours. In just 2 hours, Tong Zun had rushed over from the Martial Artists Alliance. From this, one could imagine how fast Tong Zun was. Longao was prepared to enter the Dragon Seal space at any time. Who knew if he was a friend or foe today? What if he was an enemy? Wouldn't he be a lamb in a tiger's den? Tong Zun, cut the crap. Longao is under my protection. Chapter 1329. Longao is under my protection. Just one sentence was enough to express Zhen Tian's attitude. Longao heaved a sigh of relief. Regardless of Zhen Tian's intentions, at the very least, only a supreme expert like Zhen Tian could suppress Tong Zun under the current circumstances. It would be difficult to save Yu Yin on his own. Thank you, Senior. You're welcome. Longao heaved a sigh of relief, but Tong Zun's face turned gloomier. Until now, Tong Zun still could not figure out why Zhen Tian would suddenly appear and help Longao. Could it be that Zhen Tian and Longao knew each other? It seemed impossible. Tong Zun did not expect that Longao, a mere disciple of the Long family, could cause such a commotion in Tianwu continent. Even Zhen Tian and Long Tian were willing to offend him to protect Longao. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would not have believed it. Zhen Tian, since you want to protect Longao, I will take my leave. To Tong Zun, it was not worth it to fall out with Zhen Tian for Longao. In fact, Tong Zun was very wary of Zhen Tian. No one knew what would happen in 10,000 years. Even Tong Zun had no idea how powerful Zhen Tian would be. What if he was no match for Zhen Tian? Moreover, Zhen Tian was so arrogant that Tong Zun was unsure. Tong Zun, leave Yu Yin behind. What a joke. If Tong Zun left, Yu Yin's life would be in danger. With Tong Zun's strength, even if they were 10,000 miles apart, he could destroy Yu Yin with his divine thought. That was why Longao would not let Tong Zun leave even if he had to fight to the death with Zhen Tian. Longao, for the sake of Zhen Tian, I'll spare your life. You'd better shut up, or else. Before Tong Zun could finish his words, Zhen Tian snorted loudly. Tong Zun, you better leave alone. If anything happens to this girl, I will personally kill my way to the Martial Artists Alliance. My grass. Jian Tian's overbearingness made Tong Zun a little angry, but he didn't dare to do anything. The more Jian Tian acted like this, the more Tong Zun didn't dare to make a move. Who knew how strong Jian Tian was? Jian Tian, what do you want? Let go of this girl. As for the grudge between you and Longao, I won't interfere for 100 years. 100 years. If it were anyone else, Tong Zun wouldn't care about them at all. However, Longao's situation was completely different. Longao was simply too unpredictable. To be able to improve to such a level in just a few years was already a testament to Longao's talent and potential. Jian Tian, do you really think I'm afraid of you? Tong Zun was very unhappy. 10,000 years ago, the two of them were about the same in terms of strength. Since he did not make any breakthroughs in the past 10,000 years, he believed that Jian Tian would not make any breakthroughs either. Ha ha ha, Tong Zun, you're still the same. Why don't we fight? If I win, the grudge between you and Longao will be written off and you'll let go of this girl. If I lose, I'll kill myself right here. How about that? Challenge. Jian Tian issued a challenge to Tong Zun. Longao stepped aside. He believed in Jian Tian's strength. Otherwise, Jian Tian wouldn't have acted so rashly. This time, it was Tong Zun's turn to feel helpless. Do I really have to accept the challenge? Tong Zun knew that if he accepted the challenge and lost, not only would he have to let go of Longao and Yu Yin, he might even lose his life. Tong Zun, don't you dare? Jian Tian, there's no need for us to fight. How about this? I'll let go of Yu Yin immediately. However, I won't deal with Longao personally. As long as Longao enters the ancient battlefield, no matter how the battle turns out, as long as Longao comes out alive, the grudge between us will be written off. Ancient battlefield? What's that? Longao wasn't a fool. Since Tong Zun had asked him to enter the primordial battlefield, the so-called primordial battlefield would definitely be extraordinary. As expected. Hearing Tong Zun's suggestion, Jian Tian's face turned pale. He didn't make a decision but turned to Longao and asked, Longao, what do you think? Tong Zun, are you really willing to let go of Yu Yin? There's no need for me to lie to you in front of Jian Tian. If I can't do it, I'm afraid Jian Tian won't agree. Longao didn't doubt Jian Tian's words at all. With Jian Tian's arrogance and strength, he believed that Tong Zun wouldn't dare to play any tricks. After giving it some thought, Longao nodded and agreed, no problem. Ha ha ha, great. Longao, I'll wait for you at the ancient battlefield. As Tong Zun spoke, he shot out a stream of air from his finger and it entered Yu Yin's mind. In the next moment, Yu Yin seemed to have been electrocuted. She trembled and regained her consciousness. Goodbye, Jian Tian. Goodbye. After Tong Zun left, Longao heaved a sigh of relief. He immediately held on to Yu Yin who had fainted and said helplessly, Thank you, Senior Jian Tian. If it wasn't for you, I really wouldn't know what to do. Longao, the ancient battlefield is about to open. Since you've promised Tong Zun, follow me. I'll tell you about the ancient battlefield. Okay. Longao wasn't worried at all. Yu Yin's soul had regained consciousness. Even so, Longao still placed the blood-colored lotus into Yu Yin's body. This way, Yu Yin would be safe. The two of you must send Yu Yin back to the Dragon Valley. Longao didn't trust anyone in this situation. In the end, he could only hand Yu Yin over to Long Ming and Long Qiong. The dragon and tiger would definitely be able to send Longao back to the Dragon Valley. Long Ming and Long Qiong nodded. The two godly beasts knew that this was a difficult task. Without any hesitation, the two godly beasts left quickly with Yu Yin. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared without a trace. Senior, please. Let's go. Jian Tian obviously wanted to test Longao's speed. With a whoosh, he left. However, Longao had spatial teleportation. In terms of speed, even if Tian Dao was here, he wouldn't be afraid. Longao used spatial teleportation to constantly disappear and reappear. Just like that, Longao followed closely behind Jian Tian. Jian Tian was a little surprised. He didn't expect Longao to be so fast. He was very impressed. The two of them were as fast as a breeze. In less than 2 hours, they had successfully returned to the sword sect. Murong Fengnian and Yi Xian seemed to have already known that the old ancestor had arrived. Although they were pleasantly surprised, they were not too surprised. As for Longao, who had followed the old ancestor back, the two of them looked at each other and laughed. With the old ancestor's arrival, they no longer had to be afraid of the martial art alliance. Chapter 1330. In the Sword Sect. In the main hall. Senior Jian Tian, I would like to ask, what is the primordial battlefield that Tongzun mentioned? Longao had a feeling that the primordial battlefield that Tongzun mentioned was not simple. Longao, let me tell you about the primordial battlefield. Primordial battlefield? Hearing the conversation between the old ancestor and Longao, both Murong Guenar and Yi Xian were surprised as they knew what the primordial battlefield meant. Old ancestor. He waved his hand. Next, Jian Tian briefly explained the situation of the primordial battlefield to him. Longao sighed. No wonder Tongzun chose him to enter the primordial battlefield. The primordial battlefield was a place where he had a slim chance of survival. The primordial battlefield was a forbidden land in the Tianwu continent. It was also a place where life and death were at stake. In the primordial battlefield, human lives were the least valuable. Once you entered the primordial battlefield, not only would you be threatened by the primordial battlefield itself, but you would also have to be wary of other forces' sneak attacks and assassinations. There would be disciples entering the primordial battlefield from all 10 sects. The lowest requirement was to be a supreme Dao warrior. The highest requirement was to be a supreme Dao warrior. In other words, to enter the primordial battlefield, one had to be a supreme Dao warrior and not a Nirvana realm warrior. In the primordial battlefield opened at the same time. There was no limit to the number of people who could enter. Countless people died in the primordial battlefield every time it opened. Even so, there were still countless people entering the primordial battlefield every time it opened. The reason was simple. According to the legends, the primordial battlefield was a place where countless super experts fought during the ancient times. However, for some reason, the place was sealed and became an independent space. It was named the primordial battlefield. One could imagine. In the primordial battlefield, if one was lucky or had an opportunity, one would be able to obtain the inheritance of an expert, cultivation techniques, martial skills, treasures, sacred weapons, and everything else. Longao already knew what Tongzun meant. If nothing went wrong, the Martial Artists Alliance would send many experts into the primordial battlefield. By then, once he entered, he would definitely be besieged by the disciples of the Martial Artists Alliance. Playing dirty. Longao, I believe you already understand the ancient battlefield. Let me ask you now, do you still want to enter the ancient battlefield? How could Longao not know what Tongzun meant? He had already promised Tongzun that if he didn't go in, he would implicate Jian Tian. If he were to go in, he would most likely die. However, from the beginning to the end, Longao did not hesitate at all as he said firmly, I will definitely enter the ancient battlefield. Before Jian Tian could speak, Longao continued, I'll deal with whatever comes my way. I'd like to see how Tongzun and the Martial Artists Alliance are going to deal with me. Looking at the fearless young man, Jian Tian was full of admiration. He smiled. Longao, although you will face many dangers in the primordial battlefield this time, it is also an opportunity for you. Once you encounter it, you will gain endless benefits. There was a hidden meaning in his words. Longao was not a fool. Of course, he could understand the meaning behind Jian Tian's words. Senior, feel free to speak your mind. Jian Tian smiled again. He seemed to like Longao a lot and said with a smile, there has always been a secret in the primordial battlefield. Legend has it that there is a forbidden land in the middle of the primordial battlefield. There are opportunities everywhere in the forbidden land. He seemed to be helpless. Jian Tian could only be envious of the fact that Nirvana realm martial artists could not enter the ancient battlefield. He believed that all Nirvana realm martial artists were helpless. Longao was not surprised at all. There were countless opportunities. Longao believed that there would be many dangers behind the opportunities. Otherwise, many people would have obtained the opportunities over the years. Jian Tian seemed to be able to guess Longao's thoughts. He smiled and said, "You are right. The forbidden land in the middle of the ancient battlefield is filled with dangers. If you are not careful, you will die in there. Therefore, few people have gone to the forbidden land for so many years." What did Jian Tian mean? Since the forbidden land in the ancient battlefield was filled with dangers, why did he tell him? Did Jian Tian want him to go to the forbidden land in the ancient battlefield? As expected. Longao, I believe you understand what I mean. According to the God Diviner's prediction, the forbidden land in the ancient battlefield will be weak for a period of time. At that time, the dangers will decrease and the opportunities will increase. You will have more opportunities to obtain opportunities. So that's how it was. Longao finally understood what was going on. If this was the God Diviner's prediction, then it should be correct. Longao was confident in the God Diviner's Tao of divination. After all, he was the #1 person in the martial heaven continent. Whether it was in terms of strength or Tao of divination, no one could compare to him. Even the heavenly Taos did not dare to casually provoke him. Since the God Diviner had predicted that the forbidden land in the center of the ancient battlefield would be weak, then it had to be a rare opportunity. Longao finally understood why Jian Tian wanted him to go to the ancient battlefield. Longao had never been afraid, not even in the ancient battlefield. Furthermore, what he needed now was strength. As long as he could increase his strength in the shortest time possible, then any danger would be worth it. Senior Jian Tian, I know what to do. Hearing the determination in Longao's voice, whether it was Jian Tian, Murong Guanar, or Yi Xian, they were almost certain that Longao would enter the ancient battlefield and head to the forbidden land in the center. The three of them were very clear about Longao's character. Thinking back, Longao had killed his way to the Martial Artists Alliance alone for a woman. It was clear what kind of person Longao was. Senior Jian Tian, when will the ancient battlefield open? This was what Longao was most concerned about. Currently, his cultivation was only at the Earth Celestial Realm. If he could break through to the Supreme Tao Realm, then even if he entered the primordial battlefield, he believed that his chances of survival would increase significantly. Knowing what Longao was thinking, Jian Tian said, "The ancient battlefield will open in a month. At that time, all of us will have entrances to the ancient battlefield. Therefore, Longao, you will stay in the sword sect and cultivate for a month. I will arrange a place for you." Longao knew very well that Jian Tian was doing this for his own good. Although he still did not know why Jian Tian was helping him, based on the current situation, Jian Tian was an enemy and not a friend. As long as Jian Tian did not act shamelessly against him, Longao would not act shamelessly against Jian Tian and the sword sect. He would still treat Jian Tian as a friend. P.S. There was a power outage today and it only came at 8 p.m. Xiao Ju was worried sick. This is the first chapter. Chapter 1331. The family had been settled. Yu Yin's divine soul had also been settled. At this moment, Longao didn't have too many concerns. Hence, he decided to stay and cultivate properly during this month to improve his strength. He nodded. "In that case, I'll do as you say." Given the current situation, the best place to go was the sword sect. In the main hall. After Longao left, there were only 3 people left in the main hall: Jian Tian, Yi Xian, and Murong Guanar. Ancestor, Tongzun has chosen to compromise this time. Once Longao enters the ancient battlefield, Tongzun will definitely not let him off. Murong Guanar was very curious as he looked at the ancestor in front of him because he knew that the ancestor would definitely be able to guess the same thing. In that case, why was the ancestor so insistent? Did the ancestor really trust Longao that much? Longao is a very unpredictable person. Even the clairvoyant master can't really predict Longao's fate. Over the years, the clairvoyant master has never interfered in the ancient battlefield except this time. At this point, Jian Tian stopped. Since Jian Tian didn't say anything, Murong Guenar and Yi Xian didn't dare to say anything either. The two of them stood quietly at the side, wondering what was going on with the ancestor. Time passed bit by bit. The entire main hall was extremely silent. After a long time, Jian Tian's sigh echoed throughout the main hall. If I'm not wrong, the clairvoyant master has predicted the central forbidden area of the ancient battlefield because of Longao. Although he didn't believe it, Jian Tian knew that his guess was probably right. He understood. As the master and great elder of the sword sect, Murong Guenar and Yi Xian could be said to be old foxes among old foxes. If they still couldn't guess what Jian Tian was trying to say, they would really be idiots. The two of them knew very well that there was no other reason why the elder ancestor would do his best to help Longao this time. There was only one real reason, and that was the oracle. Jian Tian had already guessed that Master Clairvoyant's prediction of the ancient battlefield definitely had something to do with Longao. Just in case, the elder ancestor decided to help Longao and even offended Tongzun. Ancestor, where should we arrange a place for Longao? Secluded. After saying that, Jian Tian disappeared from the hall. In the main hall, Murong Guenar and Yi Xian looked at each other and saw a trace of helplessness in each other's eyes. However, since the elder ancestor had already made a decision, they had no choice but to obey. In the sword sect, the master and great elder didn't have the final say. The only person who could make decisions was the elder ancestor of the sword sect, Jian Tian. Unless the old ancestor disappeared, Murong Fengnian would be able to make the decision. That was also the reason. Murong Fengguan was both pleasantly surprised and depressed by the arrival of the ancestor. He was pleasantly surprised because the sword sect's strength would increase greatly with the arrival of the ancestor, but in a way, he no longer had any right to speak in the sword sect due to the arrival of the ancestor. Immediately afterward, Longao was arranged to stay in an extremely secluded courtyard. The courtyard was immediately listed as a forbidden area by the sword sect. No one was allowed to enter, and anyone who violated the order would be killed without mercy. Therefore, the disciples of the sword sect were very curious. They didn't know why the courtyard was listed as a forbidden area by the sect. Although they were very curious, no one dared to disobey the sect's order. What a joke! The words "kill without mercy" had already frightened everyone. In the courtyard, Longao didn't care about anyone, because he knew very well that this ancient battlefield might really be an opportunity for him. Therefore, he had to seize the opportunity and not miss it. Longao's current cultivation had successfully broken through the Earth God realm, and he was only one level away from the Heavenly God realm. One level seemed to be extremely easy, but it was extremely difficult to break through. Heavenly God realm. He had to strive to break through to the Heavenly God realm within a month. Only by breaking through to the Heavenly God realm would he be one step closer to the Supreme Tao realm. Just like that, Longao stayed in the sword sect and began to concentrate on cultivation. At the Martial Artists Alliance, Tongzun's face was very gloomy. He didn't expect Jian Tian to suddenly appear and help Longao. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that Jian Tian would help a young lad. Old ancestor, Longao has Jian Tian's help, so it'll be difficult for us to do anything. Even if it's in the ancient battlefield, I believe the sword sect will intervene. Tongzun obviously knew what Tong Tiendi meant. Originally, it would be easy to control Yu Yin and deal with Longao. However, Jian Tian's sudden appearance had forced him to be passive. He had no choice but to use the ancient battlefield as a last resort. Yes, I've thought about it. If the sword sect intervenes, it'll be troublesome. However, the ancient battlefield is the only place. With Jian Tian helping Longao, it won't be easy for us to kill Longao outside. Tong Tiendi was surprised. Even the old ancestor was afraid of Jian Tian. Could it be that the old ancestor was weaker than Jian Tian? Tongzun seemed to know what Tong Tiendi was thinking. He said helplessly, 10,000 years ago, I had a battle with Jian Tian. Although we were evenly matched, I knew that I had lost. Old ancestor, why is that? How could Tong Tiendi know what happened 10,000 years ago? Moreover, He had never heard of the old ancestor losing to Jian Tian. If the old ancestor didn't say it himself, Tong Tiandi wouldn't have believed it. In Tong Tiandi's heart, the old ancestor was a godlike existence, omnipotent. After the incident with Longao, the current martial arts alliance had begun to lose their spirits. It was precisely because of the arrival of the old ancestor that the status of the martial arts alliance had risen along with the tide, reaching the peak in one fell swoop. After 10,000 years, I feel that Jian Tian has become stronger. Even I don't have the confidence to defeat him. Once I'm defeated, we'll be in an even more passive position. Therefore, I won't act rashly before I'm fully confident. I see. As for the ancient battlefield, choose some experts for me. After entering the ancient battlefield, try your best to avoid the sword sect. No matter what, you have to kill Longao. It sounded easy, but Tong Tiandi knew that it would be extremely difficult. After all, the sword sect had already intervened. If he could think of it, the sword sect would definitely think of it as well. When they entered the ancient battlefield, he believed that the sword sect would do their best to help Longao. It would be difficult to find an opportunity to act. However, since the old ancestor had already said so, Tong Tiandi didn't say anything else. If Longao didn't die, it wouldn't benefit anyone. Therefore, Tong Tiandi nodded and said confidently, "Old ancestor, leave Longao to me. As long as he dares to enter the ancient battlefield, I'll make sure that he won't be able to come out alive. Even if Longao can leave the ancient battlefield alive, we haven't completely lost. Although Yu Yin's divine soul has recovered, I can kill her anytime I want. Longao, you're still lacking if you want to fight with me." Hearing the old ancestor's words, Tong Tiandi smiled. With a trump card like Yu Yin in their hands, they were in an undefeatable position. The two of them were confident that as long as Yu Yin was present, Longao wouldn't dare to act casually. Even if they wanted Longao to commit suicide, they believed that Longao would obediently obey. Old ancestor, although Jian Tian, Long Tian, and the others have appeared, the waters of the martial heaven continent will only grow deeper and deeper. What should we do next? It was just as Longao had guessed. None of the old ancestors of the martial heaven continent had died. They were just cultivating in seclusion. As for the reason, it was very simple. At their level of cultivation, they were a serious threat to the heavenly Daos. As long as the heavenly Daos were willing, even 1 against 10, they wouldn't be a match for the heavenly Daos. As a precaution, the heavenly Daos would definitely take action. At that time, no matter how strong they would all die. That was why Jian Tian, Tong Tiandi, and the others had all chosen to go into seclusion to avoid the heavenly Daos. As for why these old fellows had appeared, there was no doubt that they had sensed the heavenly Dao's departure. So they were taking advantage of this time to take a risk and see if they could find the core energy. Once they succeeded, they would all reach the peak of the martial path. If that happened, even if the heavenly Daos returned, they wouldn't need to fear them. Let's wait and see. The heavenly Daos won't return for now. If nothing unexpected happens, the others will appear soon. We'll do our best to find the core energy. The heavenly Daos. Tong Tiandi didn't continue, but he understood the old ancestor's meaning. The core energy was the most important thing to the heavenly Daos. If they didn't find it or didn't succeed in fusing it, they would be discovered by the heavenly Daos. Once the great battle between the heavenly Dao and the ancestors began, the sky martial continent would be implicated. At that time, human lives would be insignificant in the eyes of these super experts. Not to mention ordinary warriors, even Nirvana realm warriors would be like ants in front of them. This battle was unavoidable. Tong Tiandi sighed helplessly. If it was possible, he certainly didn't want to see this happen. However, the intentions of the ancestors weren't something they could control. The only thing they could do was to protect themselves as much as possible. Tian Di, go and make the arrangements. There's still a month before the ancient battlefield opens. Yes, old ancestor. Tong Tiandi didn't dare to linger. He immediately turned and left, disappearing in just a moment. Longao, you want to fight with me? I want to see what kind of ability you have. Ha ha ha. The entire hall was exceptionally cold. Only Tong Tiandi's laughter echoed in the hall. Chapter 1332. His cultivation had stagnated at the Earth God realm for 3 whole days. Longao felt helpless. His cultivation had stagnated at such a crucial moment. Longao was very satisfied with his previous cultivation speed. It only took him a year to go from the Emperor realm to the Earth God realm. Longao knew that he could not break through to the Heavenly God realm, or even the Supreme Tao realm. He knew that entering the primordial battlefield at this time would mean his death. Brother Long, it will be difficult for you to break through to the Heavenly God realm in the remaining time. By Ling's words, Longao would not have the slightest doubt. Perhaps it was because his cultivation speed was too fast. Now that things had reached this stage, it would be even more difficult for him to break through. He shrugged helplessly. By Ling, I will enter the primordial battlefield in 27 days. Therefore, I hope that I can break through in the shortest time possible. Martial Artists Alliance, Tong Zun. Longao was almost certain that he would be surrounded by the Martial Artists Alliance when he entered the primordial battlefield. If nothing went wrong, Tong Zun would definitely send a large number of experts into the primordial battlefield. Strength. Brother Long, cultivation has to be done step by step. Even if you have the strength now, you will still suffer a backlash in the future. Longao nodded. How could Longao not know the meaning behind Bai Ling's words? Cultivation itself was a heaven-defying path. The worst thing was to spoil things through excessive enthusiasm. However, did Longao have a choice at this time? The Tianwu continent was divided into 10 factions. The Long family, Alchemy Guild, Martial Artists Alliance, WN Shou Sect, Heaven and Earth Sect, 5 Elements Sect, Wanzhan School, Sword Sect, Purple Thunder Sect, and Black Heaven Sect. In the 9 heavens, at the peak of the clouds, the marvelous mathematician stood on the clouds and looked down at the vast land. His body exuded a domineering aura. The primordial battlefield is about to open. This time, the primordial battlefield is the weakest it has been in the past 10,000 years. There are endless opportunities for those who are fated to obtain them. Anyone who enters the primordial battlefield can head to the primordial battlefield to seek opportunities. Master God Diviner's voice rang out in everyone's ears. Among these people, the weakest was a void god martial artist. This was because only those who had broken through to the Supreme Tao realm were qualified to enter the primordial battlefield. Hearing Master God Diviner's words, everyone was overjoyed. They couldn't wait to enter the primordial battlefield and head to the primordial battlefield to seek opportunities. For 10,000 years, there had never been such an opportunity. After all, how many people would be willing to give up such a rare opportunity? Tong Zun, Zhen Tian, Long Tian, and the others had all heard the voice. Other than sighing helplessly, they could only hope that someone from their sect could obtain the opportunity. The primordial battlefield was restricted to Nirvana realm martial artists. Otherwise, they would be killed by the primordial battlefield. No one doubted this point. Longao also heard Master God Diviner's voice. He was curious. Longao had always been curious about the primordial battlefield. That was because each of the primordial battlefield's entrances had their own entrances. Just what was going on? Longao guessed that the primordial battlefield's entrances were very likely to be built according to the primordial battlefield's entrances. Although this guess was a little absurd, Longao's intuition told him that his guess should be correct. Who was Master God Diviner? He was the true number 1 person in the Tianwu continent. Even the heavenly Tao had to be respectful to him. Furthermore, Master God Diviner also had the Tao of divine divination. There was nothing he couldn't do. It was precisely because of this that no one doubted or questioned Master God Diviner's words. In other words, the primordial battlefield's disciples who hadn't planned on entering the primordial battlefield resolutely decided to enter after hearing Master God Diviner's words. It was all for the sake of seeking their own opportunities. The primordial battlefield was a legendary land of opportunities. It was a rare opportunity. No one would give up. 2 hours later. Within the wordless heavenly book. Senior, may I know why you called me in? Longao was very surprised. After all this time, the mysterious youth hadn't taken the initiative to look for him. Now that he had taken the initiative to invite him into the wordless heavenly book, could it be something important? Nodding. The mysterious youth seemed very satisfied. He nodded approvingly. Longao, your speed of growth has pleasantly surprised me. However, you're too weak. Entering the primordial battlefield this time can be said to be a 90% chance of survival. Nonsense. Longao knew his own situation better than anyone else. However, he wasn't a fool. The mysterious youth couldn't just be talking nonsense with him. Could it be that there was some benefit to be gained? As expected. Your bloodline has been sealed. Originally, you shouldn't have been able to obtain this martial skill. However, you've already awakened your innate divine ability twice. You can barely cultivate this surekill skill. With this surekill skill combined with your innate divine ability, Dragon Roar, I believe that you can even insta-kill a heavenly god. Damn. Hearing the mysterious youth's words, Longao's heart was surging. Especially the last sentence. With the surekill skill combined with your innate divine ability, Dragon Roar, I believe that you can even insta-kill a heavenly god. Without a doubt, the surekill skill mentioned by the mysterious youth must be very powerful. Senior, what is this surekill skill like? Longao was a little impatient. After all, it was such a terrifying surekill skill. Not to mention him, he believed that no matter who it was, they would be impatient to obtain it. The surekill skill I'll impart to you later is called the surekill skill of time. Just by itself, it doesn't have the slightest use. However, once combined with your innate divine ability, its power will be. Speaking of this, the mysterious youth smiled. Next, the mysterious youth began to teach Longao the surekill skill of time. In just half an hour, Longao already had a general understanding of this surekill skill. The mysterious youth's meaning was very simple. When facing an enemy, first use your innate divine ability to lock the flow of space around the enemy, then use the surekill skill of time. The combination of the two could completely achieve insta-kill. As for whether it could defeat a supreme divine expert, it was unknown. The surekill skill of time was divided into 3 parts: time acceleration, time stop, and time rewind. Longao's innate divine ability, Dragon Roar, had this divine ability, so the two overlapped. However, Longao was very clear that if he cultivated the time stop skill, then its power would increase infinitely. With the innate divine ability as a foundation, cultivating the time stop skill would be twice the result with half the effort. Time acceleration and time rewind were the most difficult to cultivate, but they were also the most powerful. Once faced with an enemy, suddenly slowing down the enemy's speed, or increasing one's own speed by 10 times, or 100 times, what kind of concept was that? Such a martial skill was called a surekill skill, and it was not exaggerated at all. The surekill skill of time, Longao spent a full day and night to barely remember all of it and be able to operate it in his mind. Chapter 1333. Time Surekill Technique. It was divided into 3 parts: time forward, time stop, and time rewind. Longao did not choose to cultivate time stop first because he already had the Dragon Roar. Even if he succeeded in cultivating it, it would only make the time stop longer. The ancient battlefield was about to open and he had to race against time. Among the time surekill techniques, time forward and time rewind were the most powerful. Longao knew very well that if he could cultivate all the surekill techniques, he would be able to kill a heavenly god in seconds. He was pleasantly surprised. He was excited. Until now, Longao did not expect that the mysterious young man would teach him such a terrifying surekill technique. He thought that he would most likely die in the ancient battlefield. After all, it would be difficult for his cultivation to break through from the earth god realm to the heavenly god realm within a month. It would be impossible for him to break through to the supreme Tao realm. But now, as long as he could cultivate the surekill technique, his chances of coming out of the ancient battlefield alive would be much higher. In the courtyard. Ever since he obtained the Shawkill technique, Longao had been cultivating it day and night. On the other side, "Sister, please help me persuade Brother Long. If he continues like this, I'm afraid his body won't be able to take it." Bai Ling's face was full of worry because Longao was cultivating all the time and the burden of cultivation was too heavy. Bai Ling had tried to persuade him countless times but to no avail. She smiled. "Sister, if you can't persuade him, how can I be useless?" Hearing this, Bai Ling's face became more and more worried. "Don't worry. I can sense that the martial skill that Longao cultivated this time is very terrifying. If his cultivation can reach our level, with the help of this martial skill, I believe that even instantly killing the heavenly Tao would be an easy matter. Sister, is this true?" Before Xiling could answer, Longao's body suddenly stopped moving. What happened? Just as Xiling and Bai Ling were feeling curious, Longao suddenly said, "Innate divine ability, Dragon Roar." At this moment, a powerful dragon's aura surged from Longao's back. Following that, 100-meter-long dragon's roar appeared behind Longao's back. The dragon's cold eyes seemed to have come from the depths of hell. "Bai Ling, Longao's martial skill is really powerful." He nodded in agreement. Both Bai Ling and Xiling could clearly sense that ever since Longao had started cultivating this Shawkill technique, even the power of his innate divine ability, the dragon's roar, had become much stronger. Bai Ling's expression slowly changed from worry to surprise. The stronger Longao was, the happier Bai Ling was. This was because Bai Ling knew that the Longao would most likely die in the primordial battlefield. The stronger one was, the higher their chances of survival. At this moment, Longao's eyes were equally cold, exuding a chilling murderous aura. "Time stop." As soon as Longao's voice fell, traces of aura fluctuations appeared within 100 meters in front of him. It was a pleasant surprise. Longao knew that ever since he had cultivated the Shawkill technique of time, with the innate divine ability, Dragon's Roar as a foundation, cultivating the Shawkill technique of time could be said to be twice the result with half the effort. Longao knew very well that if other people were to cultivate the Shawkill technique of time, not to mention the speed, they might not even be able to succeed. Time forward, time backward. The same aura fluctuations. Longao's face was full of surprise. In 22 days, he had successfully grasped the essence of the Shawkill technique of time. Although he had not cultivated it to the great success realm and could not instantly kill a divine realm expert, Longao was full of confidence. With his current strength, once he used the Shawkill technique of time, killing a divine realm expert would be a matter of minutes. The giant dragon's shadow disappeared. Longao let out a long sigh of relief. "Brother Long, are you okay?" Shaking his head, Longao did not hide anything from the two of them. With the help of spiritual sense transmission, he told them about the Shawkill technique of time. As for the matter of the mysterious youth, Longao only told Bai Ling, not even Xiling and Long Fu. Longao did not tell Longao. "Longao, just now, my sister and I have already sensed this martial technique of yours. It is indeed very powerful, but you have to remember one thing." "Please say." Xiling's strength was there for all to see. Although Longao did not know how strong Xiling's original body was, he could be sure of one thing, that is, Xiling and Bai Ling's original body strength should be able to surpass the way of heaven. It was just a kind of intuition, but Longao trusted it very much. Although your time Shawkill technique is very powerful when combined with your innate divine ability, you must not use your time Shawkill technique when you are fighting against high-level warriors. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable if you suffer a backlash. Regarding what Purple Spirit said, Longao really had not thought about it before. Now that he thought about it, it was really the case. Although the time Shawkill technique coupled with the innate divine ability, the power was incomparably daunting, but when fighting against powerful enemies, it was best to use the time Shawkill technique as little as possible. As Xiling said, the consequences would be unimaginable if he got backfired on by the enemy. Xiling, in your opinion, what level of warrior can my Shawkill technique of time, combined with my natural divine powers, fight against? Divine Emperor. Divine Emperor? The supreme four realms, from lowest to highest, were Divine King, Divine Emperor, Ultimate God, and Divine Emperor. According to what Xiling said, with his strength, once he used his surekill technique of time, wouldn't he be able to fight against a Divine King? However, one had to know that he still had the reincarnation doppelganger as his biggest trump card. No matter what, Longao was relieved to be able to successfully cultivate the time surekill skill before the valley battlefield was about to open. That's enough. Longao was a very satisfied person because he knew that the more greedy a person was, the faster they would die. Calculating the time, there were still 5 days before the opening of the primordial battlefield. It was almost impossible to break through from the Earth God realm to the Heaven God realm in 5 days. It seemed like the only way to break through was to enter the primordial battlefield. Brother Long, have you really decided to enter the ancient battlefield? Longao nodded. He was very curious because he believed that Bai Ling should know his character. If that was the case, why did Bai Ling still ask? Bai Ling, you should know my character. I'm determined to enter the ancient battlefield this time. Bai Ling seemed to have something that she couldn't say. She looked at Xiling and her meaning was very clear. Tell me. Since things have already come to this point, if you don't tell him, I'm afraid that Longao won't be able to come out alive after entering the ancient battlefield. Ah! After hearing Xiling's words, Longao was even more curious. What was going on? Why was he still alive after entering the ancient battlefield? Chapter 1334. Bai Ling, what exactly is going on? Bai Ling pondered for a moment. Sighing deeply, Bai Ling said helplessly, Brother Long, you don't know. The ancient battlefield is filled with danger. Out of 10 people who enter, there might not even be one who comes out alive. Longao already knew about the dangers of the ancient battlefield. However, Longao had already decided that no matter how dangerous it was, he would enter the ancient battlefield. Bai Ling, I'll say the same thing. I'll definitely enter the ancient battlefield. Bai Ling obviously knew Longao's character and smiled helplessly. Brother Long, what I want to say is that, seeing that Bai Ling was hesitant to speak, Xiling glared at her and said impatiently, Alright, I'll say it. Longao, there are too many remnant spirits in the ancient battlefield. Once you're targeted by them, you'll be devoured and become a puppet of the remnant spirits. Longao had also thought of this. According to Jian Tian, countless experts had died in the ancient battlefield and it was extremely normal for remnant spirits to survive. Even so, what could he do? Could it be that he would choose not to enter the ancient battlefield because of this? That was not very likely. I appreciate your kind intentions, but I have to enter the ancient battlefield. I've always believed that opportunities and dangers coexist. Without danger, there won't be opportunities. Upon hearing that, Xiling and Bai Ling looked at each other and saw a trace of helplessness in each other's eyes. Both of them had already guessed that Longao would definitely make such a choice. There were only 5 days left before the ancient battlefield would open. In the remaining days, Longao did not relax at all. Instead, he cultivated even harder. He did not give up any time to cultivate. This time, when the ancient battlefield opened, all the disciples were eager to give it a try. The reason was simple. Everyone wanted to try their luck because of the divination master's prediction. What if they could obtain an opportunity that belonged to them? 5 days later, Longao looked into the distant void and stood up. He found Jian Tian and prepared to enter the primordial battlefield. Sword Sect. In front of the main hall, the spacious square was densely packed with people. At a glance, there were at least 1,000 people. Longao was a little surprised. According to the rules of the ancient battlefield, one had to be a supreme Dao warrior at the very least to enter the ancient battlefield. In other words, the thousands of people in front of him were all experts of the supreme Dao and above. Among them, there were even supreme Dao peak supreme Dao warriors. Sword Sky and Murong Guenar looked at the thousands of people in front of them. The two of them knew very well that these 1,000+ people were all outstanding disciples of the Sword Sect. These people had entered the primordial battlefield in order to obtain opportunities and break through to a higher realm. As long as someone could break through to the Nirvana realm, it would be a great thing for the sword sect. Except for the peak of martial arts. Nirvana realm warriors were the true rulers of the Tianwu continent. Therefore, the 10-direction tripod wished to have more Nirvana realm warriors. Just the sword sect alone had more than 1,000 people. Didn't that mean that the 10-direction tripod had more than 10,000 people entering the primordial battlefield? The primordial battlefield was filled with danger. Of the tens of thousands of people who entered, less than a tenth of them came out alive. That was only a little over 1,000 people. A ratio of 10 to 1. Such a ratio was terrifying just thinking about it. But even so, there were still people rushing into the primordial battlefield like moths to a flame. Especially this time, the number of people entering the primordial battlefield had more than doubled with Master Godly Diviner's prediction. Let's cut to the chase. This time, those who can return alive and have a breakthrough and obtain an opportunity can enter the sword sect's sacred ground to cultivate. Jian Tian's words excited the 1,000+ people. Swear to return. Nodding in satisfaction, Jian Tian said, conclude, open the entrance passage. Yes, Patriarch. After saying that, Muronguenar led everyone out of the plaza and toward the back mountain of the sword sect. Roughly an hour later. The back mountain of the sword sect. It was a huge valley surrounded by mountains on all sides. It was shrouded in layers of mist and white clouds. From a distance, the entire valley seemed to be at the peak of the clouds. It was very mystical. Longao was shocked when he saw the valley because he knew that Muronguenar had led them here. Otherwise, no one would have been able to find this place. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, it would have been hard to imagine that such a miraculous scene existed in the world. The entrance to the ancient battlefield is within the gorge, and Rebirth Realm martial artists are unable to enter it. All of you will be teleported to different places after entering the ancient battlefield this time. Remember, you must be united. If I find out that someone dares to break the rules of my sword sect, then I'll kill them without mercy. Yes, Master. Let's go. More than 1,000 people were looking forward to entering the primordial battlefield. No one hesitated and walked into the valley one by one. In a short while, more than 1,000 people had slowly disappeared into the valley. Just as Longao was about to enter the valley, Muronguenar suddenly said, Longao, you must be careful when you enter the primordial battlefield. I have received news that the Long family and the Martial Artists Alliance have issued a kill order. They must kill you in the primordial battlefield. Long family? Longao wasn't surprised that the Martial Artists Alliance wanted to deal with him. Only the Long family. If it was the Long family from before, Longao wouldn't have felt any problem either. However, Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon had already descended, and the Long family wanted to deal with him. Didn't that mean that the Long family wanted to deal with him with Long Tian's approval? In other words, it was Long Tian who wanted to deal with him. At the thought of this, Longao snorted coldly in his heart. Since you are heartless, don't blame me for being heartless. Thank you, Master, for your reminder. I will be extra careful. I will deal with whatever comes my way. I will make sure that they will never return. Muronguenar admired Longao's courage and his calm attitude. He didn't say anything else. Muronguenar nodded. His meaning was very clear. Master, goodbye. Longao had a good impression of Muronguenar. Regardless of Muronguenar's motives, he still had a good impression of him. More than 1,000 people, including Longao, had already entered the valley. Ancestor, are you sure that Longao will come out of the primordial battlefield alive this time? Jian Tian's figure appeared. He looked at the disappearing figure and nodded. He said, Longao is not simple. The clairvoyant master has personally come out for this. If Longao dies in there, then my guess is wrong. If Longao dies, then so be it. However, if my guess is correct, Longao will come out of the primordial battlefield, which will be beneficial to us. Muronguenar wanted to say something, but he swallowed his words. He didn't know what to say at this point. Chapter 1335. The Primordial Battlefield. Legend had it that the primordial battlefield was mysteriously sealed. No matter how powerful the remnant souls were, they could not leave the primordial battlefield. The primordial battlefield was also filled with opportunities. There was once someone who entered the primordial battlefield and came out as a super expert. There were endless opportunities and dangers. Danger and opportunities coexisted. Even so, there were still countless people who could not resist the temptation. Every time the primordial battlefield opened, there would be people who entered it. This time, the number of people entering the primordial battlefield had more than doubled. The reason was simple. Countless people would choose to believe Master Clairvoyant's prediction without hesitation. Because of that, even though they knew that there was a high chance of death in the primordial battlefield, many people still chose to enter without hesitation. Others also wanted to enter, but the primordial battlefield was occupied by the 10-Direction Alliance and outsiders had no chance at all. In the primordial battlefield, there were barren mountains, rocks, and weeds everywhere. There was only one word to describe the primordial battlefield, and that was desolate. It was desolate. The entire space did not look like an independent space at all. Apart from the fact that it was not as lively as the outside world, it was almost identical to the outside world. Tens of thousands of people entered the primordial battlefield and were teleported to different places. Longao entered the primordial battlefield and looked around. There was no one around. One could imagine how huge the primordial battlefield was. There were dangers everywhere and remnant souls were eroding. Longao was very careful and alert as he walked forward step by step. According to Master Clairvoyant's prediction and Jian Tian's words, the greatest opportunity in the primordial battlefield was in the center of the primordial battlefield, which was the forbidden area of the primordial battlefield. Normally, no one would dare to enter the forbidden area because it was a high chance of death. No one would be willing to do it unless they were out of their minds. But this time, the situation was completely different. Master Clairvoyant predicted that the forbidden area would be at its weakest after 10,000 years. It was also a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for tens of thousands of people. That was exactly the case. Everyone headed towards the center of the primordial battlefield, hoping to get their own opportunities. This time, in order to deal with Longao, the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family sent out their strongest disciples. The strongest disciple in the Martial Artists Alliance was Yi Fei, who was ranked second on the Earth list. He was also a peak Emperor God expert. Long family, without a doubt, was Longao. Previously, Yi Fei was ranked first on the Earth leaderboard, while Longao was ranked second. After Longao's rise, he was ranked first on the Earth board. Yi Fei fell from first to second, while Longao fell from second to third. Regarding this, both Yi Fei and Longao had a lot of opinions. However, the Earth board was created by the Heaven and Earth sect and no one could tamper with it. One place on the Earth roll meant one place. First and second and third, represented completely different meanings. The two of them knew very well that there was only one way to restore their previous ranking, and that was to kill Longao. The Martial Artists Alliance and Long family members added up to more than 2,000 people. However, at this moment, whether it was the Martial Artists Alliance or Long family, they could not be teleported to the same place. This was also the most frustrating thing for the 10-square tripod. Left with no choice, the 10-square tripod could only hope to find their companions as soon as possible. Before entering the primordial battlefield, Tong Zun and Long Tian had ordered to find Longao as soon as possible, kill him, and take away his secrets. Therefore, the Martial Artists Alliance and Long family were competing to see who could find Longao in the shortest time. Longao of course knew what the two families meant. Defeat them one by one. This was the only way Longao could think of. Not to mention more than 2,000 people, even if 10 of them worked together, it would be difficult for him to deal with them. Longao had full confidence in defeating them one by one. With his current strength, time kill technique, and reincarnation doppelganger, he was confident that he could even kill an emperor god. As for whether he could fight an ultimate god or an emperor god, it was still unknown. The primordial battlefield was full of danger. In addition to the Martial Artists Alliance and Long family, Longao knew that the most important thing now was to cultivate as soon as possible and break through from the divine realm to the supreme divine realm in the shortest time possible. Once his cultivation broke through to the supreme divine realm, Longao would not even care about an ultimate god. Longao was very careful to hide his location as he headed to the primordial forbidden land. The 10 Square Tripod, Long Family, Dan Alliance, Martial Artists Alliance, WN Show Sect, Heaven and Earth Sect, 5 Elements Sect, Wanjan School, Sword Sect, Purple Thunder Sect, and Black Heaven Sect. The only forces that had a grudge against Longao were the Martial Artists Alliance and Long Family. As for the other 8 super forces, Longao did not want to cause any trouble. The disciples of the 10 Square Tripod were dressed neatly. At a glance, one could tell where they came from just by looking at their clothes. Longbow. He did not know if it was because of his good luck or bad luck that he met an old friend in less than 2 hours after entering the primordial battlefield. It was the young master of the Long family, Longbow, who was also a super figure ranked 3rd on the Earth leaderboard. Longbow's cultivation had broken through the Emperor God realm and was only 1 step away from the Nirvana realm. Although there was only 1 step between the 2 realms, the gap between the 2 was huge. A peak Emperor God warrior would not be able to fight back in front of a Nirvana realm warrior who had just entered the Nirvana realm. One could imagine how big the gap between the 2 was. Longbow was also sent to a certain place in the primordial battlefield and had not found any companions until now. Because of this, Longao did not continue to hide and slowly walked out. Longao. Seeing Longao suddenly appear in front of him, Longbow was a little surprised. He looked around and saw that there was no one around. In the beginning, Longbow did not take Longao seriously at all. Because of the sect and his father, Longbow had no choice but to befriend Longao. However, as time passed, Longao's reputation grew and he was even ranked 1st on the Earth leaderboard. Longbow gradually started to pay attention to this young man. Longao, you barged into the ancestral hall without permission. You did not take the Long family seriously at all. You. He waved his hand. Longao stopped Longbow from continuing. Longao's face was full of impatience. He said unhappily, Longbow, you and I are both smart people. There is no need to dilly-dally. The enmity between me and the Long clan, no matter who is right and who is wrong, either you die or I die. However, whether you die or I die is still unknown. Longbow, what do you think? Chapter 1336. Longbow's face was gloomy. Longao's words meant that he did not put him in his eyes at all, nor did he put the Long family in his eyes. As the young master of the Long family, and a super figure who was ranked 2nd on the Earth board, could Longbow endure it? He sneered. Longbow's face was filled with disdain and contempt. Longao, you are already ranked 1st on the Earth board. I really want to know how strong you are now. Earth God. He did not hide anything. As for the matter of him being ranked 1st on the Earth board, Longao only found out recently. It would be a lie to say that he was not depressed. Longao could be considered to have a better understanding of the Earth board. The Earth board was the most valuable list in the Sky Martial continent. It was on par with the Heaven board, and was a list that the young people of the Sky Martial continent fought over. The previous number 1 on the Earth board was Ren Fei from the Martial Artists Alliance. He was extremely powerful, and it was rumored that he was half a step into the Nirvana realm. If it was a one-on-one fight, he would definitely not be a match for Ren Fei, and Longbow. Longao was very clear that the reason why he was able to be ranked 1st was all because of the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family. To be able to contend against a Nirvana realm martial artist, his strength, in the eyes of outsiders, was already very strong. Or else, it was impossible for him to be ranked on the Earth board and the Heaven board at the same time. Ha ha ha, Earth God, just Earth God. He laughed crazily, and within his laughter, it was still filled with disdain and contempt. In Longbow's eyes, the Earth God was like an ant. As long as he was willing, he could casually trample an ant to death at any time. Longbow also never thought that Longao was only an Earth God realm martial artist. In his opinion, for Longao to be able to contend against a Nirvana realm martial artist, even if his cultivation did not break through the Nirvana realm, he should have already reached the peak Divine Lord. But the result? Longao, if you and I fight, guess what your chances of winning are? None. Truth be told, Longao was very clear about Longbow's strength. He was a peak god emperor and could look down on the Sky Martial continent's younger generation. Other than Ren Fei, Longbow was the strongest person under the age of 40. Longao knew his own limits. With his own strength, wanting to defeat Longbow seemed to be an impossible thing. This battle was unavoidable. At least you know your place. Longao, I'll give you a chance. As long as you hand over all your secrets and sacrifice your soul, I'll let you go. Soul sacrifice? Hearing Longbow's words, Longao cursed in his heart. Regarding divine soul sacrifice, Longao was not the least bit unfamiliar with it. Soul sacrifice, as the name implied, once you offered your soul to the other party, you would become a puppet of Longbow. If Longbow said to go east, you wouldn't dare to go west. Would Longao agree? In fact, Longbow didn't think that Longao would agree. Longbow knew that if Longbow chose to compromise so easily, Longao would have chosen to compromise with the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family instead of waiting until now. He shook his head helplessly. With a deep sigh, Longao looked around at the primordial battlefield and said with a smile, Longbow, you have to know your place. Once you're arrogant, you'll die. Longao didn't even give Longbow a chance to talk back. He attacked as soon as he finished speaking. End the battle quickly. Longao knew that with his strength, it was impossible to defeat Longbow head-on. His only advantage was that he didn't give Longbow a chance to react. In this case, if he ended the battle quickly, he might still have a chance to win. Innate divine power, Long Ying. The shadow of a huge dragon appeared behind Longao and circled around, staring at Longbow coldly. As the dragon roared, the surrounding aura started to change slowly. Longbow, you're very lucky to be the first person to witness my time short-kill skill. I hope you can survive and tell me how you feel. What did that mean? Time short-kill skill? Just as Longao guessed, Longbow didn't expect his sudden attack and didn't even have time to react. Time acceleration. The surrounding time fluctuations changed, and Longao's figure disappeared from his original spot. With the help of the time short-kill skill, Longao's teleportation speed doubled. What did that mean? Before Longbow could fight back, his body was sent flying like a kite with a broken string and fell to the ground. Longbow had to admit that he was very strong. He took the attack head-on and turned around. His face was pale and his body was shaking. His face was full of shock. How did Longao do that? Time short-kill skill. Could Longao change the flow of time? Even if he didn't want to believe it, the truth was in front of him and he had to believe it. Longao. Ha ha ha, Longbow, you don't have to waste time. If you want to fight, let's fight. Didn't you enter the primordial battlefield to kill me? Longao didn't want to waste any more words. He knew that Longbow had entered the primordial battlefield this time to kill him. Since that was the case, there was no need to waste any more time. Although he was hit, Longbow was still very confident. As long as he didn't let down his guard, Longao wouldn't be able to defeat him. It was simply impossible. Longao didn't continue to use the time short-kill skill this time because he knew very well that Longbow was on guard. If he used the time short-kill skill forcefully, he might be attacked by Longbow and the consequences would be unimaginable. Fighting steadily and surely, Longao would not casually take risks. Longao, I'd like to see how strong you are today. Longbow shot out at the same time. In the blink of an eye, the two of them were engaged in a fierce battle. In just a short while, the two of them had exchanged more than 10 blows. From the beginning to the end, Longbow did not put Longao in his eyes. However, as the battle continued to escalate, Longbow became more and more shocked in his heart. Because he never thought that Longao's strength would be so powerful that he could fight with him for more than 10 rounds and not lose. However, The gap between an Earth god and a celestial emperor was too big. Even though Longao could last for more than 10 rounds, it didn't mean that he could continue. Without full confidence, Longao wouldn't use the time shorekill skill casually. The chances of a backlash were too high. Reincarnation doppelganger. In the end, Longao had no choice but to use the reincarnation doppelganger because he knew that there were at least thousands of people from the Long family who had entered the primordial battlefield. Once he was surrounded, it would be difficult for him to leave safely. Before Longbo's reinforcements arrived, he had to settle Longbo as soon as possible. In the current situation, only one of them could survive. Chapter 1337. At this moment, all of Longbo's attention was focused on Longao. He did not expect another Longao to appear. The result: reincarnation doppelganger appeared behind Longbo. One in front and one behind. The doppelganger's speed and strength were stronger than Longao's. Holding the god-slaying sword, the doppelganger slashed at Longbo. The terrifying master god sword chi struck down like lightning. If it was an ordinary person, being attacked by Longao and the doppelganger from the front and back, they would be severely injured even if they did not die. Longbo was startled. The doppelganger's aura could not be completely absent. Therefore, Longbo could still sense it clearly. Even so, Longbo was almost hit by the sword chi. He dodged the sword chi from the doppelganger. At this moment, Longao's body had already darted out. Clenching his fists, he punched out viciously. Longao was full of confidence. The reason why he did not kill Longbo earlier was because he did not use his full strength. After all, he was afraid of a backlash. But now, Longao no longer had any worries. As long as his fists hit Longbo, Longbo would die without a doubt. But Longao had already missed the best opportunity. He threw a punch at Longbo, but Longbo dodged it smoothly. He was helpless. Having missed the opportunity, Longao knew that with his strength, it was almost impossible for him to find a second chance. Retreat. With no other choice, Longao could only choose to leave temporarily. Turning around, Longao used space teleportation, and his body instantly disappeared without a trace. Longbo did not give chase. Looking at the gradually disappearing figure, he was still in a daze. Was Longao really just an Earth god martial artist? Longao had almost killed him just now. Even now, Longbo was still afraid. If not for the fact that his cultivation base was higher than Longao's, he believed that he would have been killed by Longao at this moment and died in the ancient battlefield. Longao, don't think that you've won. I'll let you know what death is like. Longbo was still full of confidence because he knew that if Longao had full confidence, he would not have run away. The biggest reason why he was defeated in the previous battle was because of his carelessness. If he was prepared, would Longao still be able to hurt him? In the distance, Longao did not leave. Other than seeking opportunities in the primordial battlefield, he was also preparing to deal with the Martial Artists Alliance and his Long family. Longao had always had a principle, and that was that if people did not offend him, he would not offend them. If people wanted to offend him, he would definitely offend them. Since the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family wanted to play dirty, he would play with them this time. Although it was impossible to fight against the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family together, Longao was confident that he could defeat them one by one. Just like that. Longao did not continue to rush to the primordial forbidden grounds. Instead, he headed in the direction that Longbo left. One day and one night passed in the blink of an eye. Every time the primordial battlefield opened, the disciples of the 10 great factions would have to deal with the dangers of the primordial battlefield. On top of that, they would have to be on guard against the attacks, sneak attacks, and assassinations of the other superfactions. Longbo searched for one day and one night and barely found a few disciples of the Long family. One could imagine how big the primordial battlefield was. Eldest senior brother, Yi Fan is missing. Yi Fan was a disciple of the Long family. His cultivation had reached the Earth God realm and he was considered a talented disciple. Longbo was curious because he knew that after entering the primordial battlefield, No one would dare to make a decision without his permission. If that was the case, why would Yi Fan disappear for no reason? Could something have happened to Yi Fan? It was impossible for Yi Fan to lose track of him. With their cultivation, it was impossible for them to lose track of him unless they were unwilling to. Longbo's face turned pale because he had a feeling that this was not a simple matter. From now on, all of you are not allowed to leave the team. Those who disobey will be killed. Yes, eldest senior brother. Just like that, Longbo's disciples followed closely and none of them left the team. Longbo wanted to see what was going on and why they would lose a person out of the blue. In the distance, everyone disappeared and Longao's figure gradually appeared. The corner of Longao's mouth curled up into a cold smile. Yi Fan's disappearance was the doing of Longao. With Longao's strength, he could easily kill an Earth God cultivator in an instant. As for being stealthy, as long as he grasped this rare opportunity, he would not easily give it up. One by one, Longao was prepared to kill them one by one. This way, he could slowly break through Longbo's mental defenses. By then, he would have more chances to deal with Longbo. As for the Martial Artists Alliance, he would deal with the Long family first. In the primordial battlefield, blood-red clouds floated in the void of the 9 heavens. It was worth mentioning that for some unknown reason, no matter who it was, as long as they entered the primordial battlefield, they were not allowed to fly and could only walk on the ground. After so many years, no one knew the reason. Longbo and the rest arrived at the bottom of the blood-red clouds. Strictly speaking, it was not that they wanted to enter, but that they were sucked in by the airflow as soon as they reached the outer layer of the blood-red clouds. Great shock. The primordial battlefield was filled with danger. They would face life and death situations at any moment. Although Longbo had never entered the primordial battlefield, he knew the situation very well. Nothing good would come out of it if they were sucked in by the airflow. Just as expected. Eldest senior brother, what should we do now? The others were a little flustered because the airflow around them had started to devour their divine souls. It was slow, but at this rate, their divine souls would be devoured sooner or later. By then, it would be too late. Longbo was also very serious. Not to mention the others, even he could not completely stop the airflow from devouring his divine soul. What was going on? Let's join forces. Everyone nodded and attacked the airflow around them with all their might. However, it was as if they were attacking cotton balls. There was no reaction at all. Now, Longbo and the rest seemed to be stuck in a quagmire and could not extricate themselves. Not far away. Seeing this situation, Longao was also very surprised. Blood-red clouds covered the surroundings. He had seen Longbo's situation with his own eyes. That was why Longao did not dare to get close. If he were to be sucked in, it would be a real pain in the ass. Chilleen. Suddenly, a crazy roar resounded through the sky. The blood-red clouds that were as calm as water suddenly rolled crazily, wave after wave. Not only that, a blood-red Chilleen appeared at the top of the clouds. Chapter 1338. Blood Kirin. Seeing the blood Kirin in the sky, Longbo and the others, including Longao, were all shocked. Among the spirit beasts, there were 3 super races. They were the dragons, the phoenixes, and the Kirins. With the decline of the dragon clan, the Chilleen clan and the phoenix clan slowly became the 2 supreme existences among the spirit beast clans. The blood Kirin was the most powerful of the Kirins. The blood Kirin was known as the king of the Kirins. Why was the blood Kirin there? Longao gulped. He knew what the blood Kirin meant. That wasn't all. Longao could feel that the blood Kirin in the sky was a nirvana beast. A nirvana beast, the blood Kirin, was stronger than an ordinary nirvana warrior. Big brother, what should we do now? The students of the Long family looked at the blood Kirin as it stared at them. They were frozen, and they couldn't help but gulp. Everyone knew what the power of the blood Kirin meant. Even if everyone worked together, they couldn't defeat the blood Kirin. Longbo's face looked glum. He knew that the blood Kirin had locked onto them. Even if they wanted to move, they couldn't. What should they do? Shameless humans. How dare you trespass on my territory? Die. A powerful voice boomed. Suddenly, the blood Karine's body exploded with a scary power. It covered Longbow and the others. Catcher, catcher, catcher. Before anyone could react, the blood Karine's power crushed them to the ground. Within a few seconds, a dozen people had been killed. Aside from Longbow, everyone else had died. The reason why Longbow didn't die wasn't because Longbow was powerful, but because Long Di Tien had given Longbow a defensive super divine weapon as a precaution after entering the primordial battlefield. Because of that, Longbow had been able to survive. But Longbow knew that if this continued, he was going to die. What should he do? In the distance, Longao watched the blood Karine attack Longbow and the others. He was very happy. If the blood Karine could kill Longbow and the others, it would help him. Dozens of people had died. Only Longbow was left. Longao could withstand the blood Karine's attacks. He was a little surprised. Longao was a little anxious. Apart from entering the primordial battlefield to obtain opportunities, the most important thing was to counterattack the martial artists alliance and the Long family. As the leader of the Long family, Longbow was someone that Longao must kill. He couldn't wait. Without danger, there would be no chance of success. Longao gritted his teeth. His reincarnation avatar appeared instantly. After giving the order, his reincarnation avatar took a big stride forward and rushed out. Longao didn't dare step inside. After all, the power of the blood Karine was there for all to see. Even if it suppressed the creature's presence, he didn't know if he could survive 3 attacks. However, the situation of the reincarnated doppelganger was different. Longao had full confidence in the reincarnation doppelganger because the reincarnation doppelganger was immortal. Even a Nirvana Realm warrior or a Nirvana Realm divine beast would not be able to destroy the reincarnation doppelganger. His aura locked onto the space. Longbow was trying his best to block the blood Karine's attacks. His eyes and ears were alert, and he was looking for a chance to escape. At that moment, Longao's body suddenly appeared. Without warning, he attacked Longbow. The reincarnation avatar wielded the Godslayer sword, and the reincarnation avatar slashed out 81 times. Countless sword airs flew out. He was startled. If this was a normal fight, Longbow wouldn't have been afraid of Longao. But in this situation, Longbow had to split his attention. He had to fight the 9 sky empty space blood Karine, and he had almost been assassinated by Longao. If things continued like this, Longbow didn't know if he could survive. Longao. Before Longbow could speak, the sword airs were already coming. The reincarnation avatar had no consciousness. It only listened to Longao's commands. That meant that if Longao told the reincarnation avatar to go east, the reincarnation avatar wouldn't go west. If Longao said 1, the reincarnation avatar wouldn't dare say 2. The reincarnation avatar continued to brandish the god-slaying sword in his hand. Streaks of sword chi continuously shot towards Longbow. It was too much to handle. Longbow kept falling back. He didn't dare be careless. If he hadn't reacted in time, he might have been killed by Longao. Was Longao's brain flooded with water? Longbow didn't understand. Anyone who wasn't an idiot could tell that the blood Karine's presence had taken over this space. Getting in would be difficult. Even if Longao had a grudge against Longbow, he wouldn't disregard his own life. Up in the sky, the blood Karine looked surprised. It didn't continue attacking. Instead, it quietly watched the fight unfold. But the blood Karine wasn't stupid. Under its presence, neither Longbow nor Longao would be able to escape. The blood Karine stopped attacking, which surprised Longao. But things had already progressed to this point. Summoning the reincarnation avatar was pointless. He might as well use this opportunity to deal with Longbow. The reincarnation doppelganger's strength increased along with Longao's. In other words, when Longao's cultivation broke through to the Earth God realm, the reincarnation doppelganger's cultivation would also break through to the Earth God realm. However, the reincarnation doppelganger's strength was far above Longao's. It could be considered to have reached the pinnacle of the Earth God realm. However, the reincarnation doppelganger was still a peak Earth God. As for Longao, he was a peak Emperor God. The gap between the two of them was too big. It was almost impossible for the reincarnation doppelganger to kill Longao. However, under such circumstances, the impossible became possible. The reincarnation avatar kept attacking Longao. The blood Kirin stopped attacking and focused on dealing with the reincarnation avatar. Slowly, the reincarnation avatar couldn't hold on any longer. If it was an ordinary Earth God cultivator, they would have been defeated long ago and killed by Longao. However, the reincarnation avatar's situation was different. With its immortal body, even after facing Longao head-on several times, it still managed to survive. This was also the real reason why Longao was getting more and more shocked. When had Longao become so strong? Longao's body defense wasn't that strong. Longao never thought that the Longao that kept attacking him wasn't the real Longao. It was just a doppelganger. If Longao found out about this, it was hard to imagine how Longao would react. Doppelganger was a doppelganger. Even if it was a Nirvana realm martial artist, it was impossible to reproduce a clone that was exactly the same. As for Tian Dao, it also relied on external forces to form many clones. It was not at the same level as Longao's reincarnation clone. Chapter 1339. Longao kept pushing forward. The doppelganger didn't back down, either. He kept swinging his sword. As the two continued to fight, the blood Kirin grew impatient. The blood Kirin had stopped attacking, but now it unleashed a scary power to suppress the two of them. The doppelganger's power wasn't being suppressed. Longao was being suppressed. The two of them were in completely different situations, so it was easy to see who had the upper hand. Longao, stop. Longao was scared. If Longao kept attacking like this, it wouldn't be a good thing for him. If he didn't die at the hands of Longao, he would die at the hands of the blood Kirin. Longao didn't want to die. He was so angry. Longao wasn't stupid. He knew that Longao had been following him the entire time. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been suppressed by the blood Kirin's power. Longao would have appeared out of nowhere. Could there be such a coincidence in the world? The reincarnation doppelganger only obeyed Longao's orders. If Longao ordered him to attack Longao, then even if the reincarnation doppelganger was destroyed, it would continue to attack Longao. That was right. The more he fought, the more anxious he became. Longao was curious. Since when had Longao become so reckless? You punch, I slash. Under the blood Kirin's power, the doppelganger and Longao's bodies kept changing. Under normal circumstances, it would have been impossible for the doppelganger to kill Longao. Even if the doppelganger was immortal, the difference in power between them was too great. But things were different now. The blood Kirin's power was suppressing Longao, and it affected him too much. He couldn't use more than 30% of his full power. Longbao's hands and feet were tied. Catcher. Suddenly, the doppelganger punched Longbao's left shoulder. The sound of ribs breaking filled the air. Longbao's body fell to the ground, but he quickly turned around and stood up. In this situation, if he let his guard down, he would be doomed. Come back. Just as Longao was about to summon back his doppelganger, his expression suddenly changed. Another blood Kirin? In the 9 heavens. Suddenly, 9 blood Kirins appeared out of nowhere in the blood-red clouds. In addition to the blood Kirins from before, that meant there were 10 blood Kirins in the sky. What did that mean? 10 blood Kirins were like 10 Nirvana warriors. Where did these blood Kirins come from? Both Longao and Longao were frozen. They looked at the 10 blood Kirins in the sky. He forcefully swallowed his saliva. When the 9 blood Kirins appeared, Longao didn't dare stay. He forced Longao away and turned around to leave. With Longbao's normal strength, it was almost impossible for him to leave. However, at this moment, Longao was not a fool. Of course, he knew that if he continued to stay in the current situation, only death would await him. At this moment, Longbo's body suddenly exploded into a bloody mist. In the blink of an eye, Longbo's body disappeared without a trace. This time, Long Di Tien had gone to the ancient battlefield to help his son leave. Long Di Tien had put in a lot of effort. Not only had he given Longbo powerful items, but he had also given him a space item that could allow him to leave. There were gains and losses. Although Longbo had left, the consequences of forcefully using the item were obvious. But in Longbo's eyes, nothing was more important than his own life. Longbo had left, but the doppelganger had not. With just one blood Kirin suppression, Longao could easily summon back his doppelganger. After all, he had a connection with his doppelganger. But now, 10 blood Kirins released their suppressive powers at the same time. When they layered up, one could imagine how powerful they were. Even if Longao wanted to summon back his doppelganger in a short amount of time, it was still a big unknown. The biggest reason Longao could not summon his doppelganger was because he was too far away from his doppelganger. If he could shorten the distance by 2/3, even if the 10 blood Kirins combined their powers, they would be able to stop Longao from summoning his doppelganger. Nothing could happen to his doppelganger. Longao knew there was danger ahead, but for the sake of his doppelganger, Longao did not hesitate to rush forward. He knew there was a tiger in the mountain, but he still went up the mountain. Longao's body quickly moved forward. Within a few seconds, he had entered the area where the suppressive powers had been suppressed. At such a close distance, Longao sent his doppelganger into his dantian. Then, he let out a sigh of relief. But Longao realized that once he entered the suppressive powers, it would be difficult for him to leave. Because of the layers of suppressive powers, he could not enter the dragon seal space. He could not even teleport. Calm down. In a situation like this, he had to remain calm. The 10 blood Kirins coldly looked at Longao. They did not care how Longao had managed to escape. Human, I will show you the cruelest death in the world. Time speed up. In this situation, Longao had no choice but to use his time skill. Under normal circumstances, Longao would not have used his time skill. After all, the 10 blood Kirins were very powerful. If he used it, he would suffer a backlash. But the 10 blood Kirins did not think much of Longao. Because of that, Longao dared to use his time skill. Longao wasn't using his time kill skill to deal with the 10 blood Kirins. He knew his own power, and the reason he used his time kill skill was so that he could leave this place safely. Longao was very fast. Even if he did not teleport, he was still faster than an ordinary Earth God martial artist. Especially now that Longao had used time speed up, his speed was 3 times faster. Whoosh! Longao's body disappeared without a trace. This time, the 10 blood Kirins were frozen. What had just happened? The 10 blood Kirins had worked together, but Longao had still been able to escape. If word of this spread, no one would have believed it. That was unbelievable. The 10 blood Kirins looked at each other. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. Even now, they could not believe that Han Sen had just left. Was that real? The 10 blood Kirins madly roared. Their roars echoed through the sky, and the ground shook. Many people around them could hear the roars. Chapter 1340. In the distance, as he watched the 10 blood Kirins roar, Longao was scared. The power of the 10 blood Kirins was obvious. Ordinary Nirvana realm martial artists couldn't fight against them. Even in a one-on-one fight, who could fight against the blood Kirins? The ancient battlefield really is extraordinary. Before entering the ancient battlefield, Longao hadn't experienced it for himself. It wasn't until the 10 blood Kirins appeared that Longao realized how scary the ancient battlefield was. If 10 blood Kirins appeared on the Sky Martial continent at the same time, it would cause panic. After all, the power of 10 blood Kirins was terrifying. Even 15 Nirvana realm martial artists might not be able to fight against 10 blood Kirins. Longbo! He let out a long sigh of relief. Longao didn't stop at all because he knew very well that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him. Longbow had forcefully left just now, so he must have used some kind of secret technique and divine weapon. If he found Longbow at this time, it would be very easy to kill Longbow. He did as he thought. Longao immediately got up and chased in the direction where Longbow disappeared. If it was an ordinary person, how could they lock onto Longbow's position? However, Longao had a way to lock onto Longbow's position. It was precisely because of this that he had full confidence that he could find Longbow's position. Long Fu, do you have a way? Master, I have located Longbow as a precaution. Longao told Long Fu that no matter what happened, he had to locate Longbow first. He was overjoyed. Somewhere in the ancient battlefield, Longbow's face was extremely gloomy. His face was as pale as a sheet of paper, and his face was covered in blood. He had used his space item to escape, which had damaged his foundation. Even so, Longbow was still scared. The power of the 10 blood kirins was too scary. If Yin Wei hadn't used his space item, he would have been killed by the blood kirins. Longao, I won't take revenge. What do you want? Before Longbow could finish his words, Longao's figure suddenly appeared. He looked at Longbow with a cold smile. Just as he had guessed, Longbow must have used a secret technique to forcefully leave. The current Longbow's aura was very unstable. Longao, how did you find me? It would be a lie to say that he wasn't surprised. Longbow never thought that Longao would find him at this time. Could it be that Longao was able to lock onto his position? Even if he was unwilling to believe it, the truth was right in front of him. Longbow had no choice but to believe it. It's too easy to find you. Longbow, you and I are both smart people. There's no need to waste time. Long family and I have a grudge. I believe you're no stranger to it. You entered the primordial battlefield to kill me. Now, I'm giving you a chance to fight with me. If you win, I won't attack you again in the primordial battlefield. What if I lose? When he heard Longao's words, Longbow's face turned even colder. Longbow was very clear in his heart that if it was a normal time, with Longao's strength, it would be impossible for him to put him in his eyes. After all, Longao was just a small Earth God martial artist, and he himself was a God Emperor martial artist. The gap between God Emperor and Earth God was too big, the two of them were simply not on the same level. But now, he had forced himself to use his space item to escape from the 10 blood kirins. He had already hurt himself. Fighting Longao now was the worst thing he could do. If he lost, he would die without a doubt. Longbow, if you lose, I won't kill you. Won't kill him? Longao's words confused Longbow. According to the grudge between Longao and his family, if he had the chance to kill Longbow, wouldn't Longao do it? Regardless of whether other people believed him, Longbow didn't believe him. Do you want to know? Longao smiled when he saw that Longbow wasn't speaking. Longbow, if you lose, I will refine you into a corpse slave. Corpse slave, do you know? Longbow had also heard of Longao's methods. His complexion changed greatly. Longbow sneered and said, Longao, let me give you a piece of advice. This time, when I came in, the old ancestor set up a chi shield around my soul. If you kill me and the old ancestor knows about it, Longbow didn't continue, but his meaning was clear. The old ancestor he was talking about was none other than the Long family's old ancestor, Long Tien. Longao wasn't afraid of Longbow, but he was afraid of Long Tien. No matter what was said, Long Tien's power was obvious. There weren't many people in the martial heaven continent who could fight Long Tien. If what Longbow said was true, then it would be troublesome. Once he dealt with Longbow and Long Tien found out, not to mention Long Tien, even Long Di Tien wouldn't let it go. If he was alone, then it would be fine. Long family wanting to find him in the vast sea of people was like looking for a needle in a sea. Unless he took the initiative to walk out, would he be so stupid? Family, Longao's only worry was his family. If his family's position was discovered by the Long family or the Martial Artists Alliance, then it would be troublesome. Ha ha ha, Longao, are you afraid? Longbow laughed loudly. His laughter was filled with disdain and contempt. In Longbow's opinion, Longao was truly afraid. It seemed that the Long family and the old ancestor could still suppress Longao. If that was the case, then things would be much easier. I'm afraid, I'm really afraid. As soon as Longao's voice fell, the reincarnation doppelganger had already rushed out. Not only that, Longao's figure also disappeared on the spot with the help of space teleportation. One on the left and one on the right, he attacked Longbow fiercely with lightning speed. What was going on? Why were there two Longaos? Seeing this situation, Longbow was dumbfounded. No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't figure out how Longao did it. How could he create another Longao? If he didn't see it with his own eyes, he wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. Not daring to be careless, Longbow felt waves of pain coming from his body. Longbow stood up, but before he could shoot out, his body was ruthlessly smashed back. Longbow had overestimated himself and underestimated this spatial divine tool. In the current situation, he couldn't even use 20% of his full strength. What did this mean? At this moment, Longbow was completely flustered. He didn't want to die. However, Longao didn't give him any chance to speak. He came up with the reincarnation clone and started to attack. You punch, I punch. Looking from afar, it was a series of fist shadows. It was hard to tell whether the fist shadows came from Longao or the reincarnation clone. Longbow's foundation had already been damaged. It was already impossible for him to fight back. After being smashed by two Longaos, in just a few seconds, the handsome and extraordinary Longbow had now become a real pig's head. Ah, Longao, I'm going to kill you. Longao was also considered shameless. He didn't know if it was intentional or not, but he, who was originally madly smashing, directly kicked out. The strength of this kick could be imagined. It kicked right on Longbow's crotch. A blood-curdling scream was accompanied by a roar of endless anger. Longbow was like a mad lion, madly counterattacking. However, Longbow's defeat was already set. It was almost impossible for him to win. Before entering the primordial battlefield, Longbow was still full of confidence that he could kill Longao with his own strength and show off in front of the old ancestor. Perhaps the old ancestor would be happy and directly promote him to be the head of the Long family. But what was the result? Even if Longbow was beaten to death, he would never have thought that not only did he fail to kill Longao, but he was also beaten up by Longao. If someone told him this in the past, would he believe it? Longbow, you've lost. Longao didn't kill Longbow immediately because he wasn't sure if what Longbow said was true. As the saying went, it was better to believe it than not. If what Longbow said was true, wouldn't he completely fall out with Long Tien? Until now, Longao still didn't know if it was Long Tien's idea or Long Tien's idea that Longbow wanted to deal with him. They were two different concepts. Even though he didn't kill Longbow immediately, Longao didn't plan to let him go. He joined forces with the reincarnation doppelganger and punched Longbow repeatedly. Longbow was in so much pain that he howled like a pig being slaughtered. It was a tragedy in the human world. Longbow's tragedy was also a tragedy for the Long family. Longao, just kill me. Just kill me. Longbow's spirit had already collapsed. As the young master of the Long family, the number one person in the younger generation, and the third on the Earth roll, he had never been humiliated like this before. It was simply unbearable. Even if he could endure it, he couldn't endure it. So what if his heart was filled with endless anger? Longbow knew very well that things had already come to this point. Would Longao let him go? It was almost impossible. Rather than that, he might as well die early. That way, the old ancestor would definitely know about this. When the time came, once Longao left the primordial battlefield, the old ancestor and his father would be able to avenge him. Kill you. Since that's what you want, I'll fulfill your wish. Longbow, die. Longao didn't continue hesitating because he could already sense that there were people madly rushing over. If it was the disciples of the other superpowers, then it would be fine. But if it was the disciples of the Long family or the Martial Artists Alliance, then it would be troublesome. If it was really the disciples of the Long family, then wouldn't the news of him killing Longbow spread? Unless it was a last resort, Longao wasn't willing to completely fall out with Long Tien. Therefore, Longao and his reincarnation doppelganger increased their speed. Several figures appeared. Seeing Longao crazily smashing Longbo, they were shocked and roared, "Longao, let go of eldest senior brother." You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.